TV News Watch 7.
Sunny, breezy, and cooler for Monday. Expect feels-like temperatures in the 20s to start the day, with north winds gusting 15 to 25 miles per hour. Afternoon highs around 50. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620, The Zone. Traffic.
From the Plumberite Time-Saving Traffic Center. Happy Monday. No accidents to report in the Omaha area. Overall, it looks to be clear across the metro. It could be moving slow on West Center Road from 180th to 168th. And you could see some delays around 36 and L. But other than that, if you're just leaving for your commute, I wouldn't expect many delays. Make sure to keep your seatbelts buckled and eyes on the road. I'm Jake Janisek.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like jewelry, gold chains, bracelets, earrings, wedding rings, and high-end watches, guns, electronics, $10 to $50,000, super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
He's coming. Here he comes. Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
Every Sunday, Captain Crash guides you through the marina and out beyond the breakers. Come aboard for smooth sailing and music. Your VIP cabin awaits.
If you like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain.
Someone pour me a Reunited on Ice. The Sunday Yacht Rock Cruise with Captain Crash. 10 till 3 every Sunday on 101.9 The Keg.
Look, there's feelings and then there's the facts. If you're feeling like your finance team is bogged down in mundane manual tasks, the fact is you need Ramp. Ramp is the corporate card that makes the expense process fast and easy. The moment your team makes a purchase, Ramp handles everything. Receipt collection and approvals, the works. With Ramp, you can cut your month-end close from 5 days to 1, customize approval workflows, and get complete control over every transaction. Facts. Over 25,000 businesses trust Ramp, including Shopify and the Boys and Girls Club of America, which is why they were just named #1 in spend management by G2. Facts. Start using Ramp and you'll have more time to spend scaling your business. And that'll feel really good. Upgrade to Ramp for free today and get $250 at ramp.com/radio. Ramp.com/radio. That's RAMP.com/radio.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
I tried to hide my cigarette smoking. Then I was rushed into emergency surgery to repair the damage smoking did to my heart. It shocked everyone because they thought I was healthy. Yet because I smoked, I had a severe heart condition that nearly killed me. My tip is, you may be able to hide your smoking from the world, but you can't hide from the damage smoking does to your body.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
When I heard the words, "you have breast cancer," I said, I have no idea what I'm going to do. My OBGYN called me and said, I know exactly what we're going to do, which led me to Nebraska Cancer Specialists. From day one, I felt that I was at the right place. There were some pretty rough times, but together we are stronger and they are there for you. You do not feel that you are alone.
NebraskaCancer.com.
Your best walleye trip ever is coming up when you join me, Crash Davis, as we travel to the walleye capital of the world. Yep, September 14th to the 18th, we're doing it again aboard a deluxe motor coach, and we're traveling to Ballard's Resort on Lake of the Woods. Price includes round trip, motor coach, transportation, 4 nights lodging, 3 days, fully guided walleye fishing, and all your meals. Go fishing with me, Crash. Your best trip ever is coming up. Sign up at ballardsresort.com. That's ballardsresort.com and set the hook.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-810-3588. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-810-3588. 800-810-3588. 800-810-3588.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
You know the saying, April showers bring May flowers. Well, it's true for heart health, too. Sprinkling in a few small changes can make a big impact on your heart health. Try adding a vegetable to your dinner or no salt seasoning. Looking for support in making these changes? Join a workshop to learn more about a healthy lifestyle. Search Chronic Disease Nebraska for more details. Paid for by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
1620 The Zone.
Good Big Monday. Welcome in, everybody. We have crowned them. We will crown a champion tonight in college basketball. A phenomenal Saturday in the Final Four. The color is green this week. Not just money, but a jacket.
Yes.
The local baseballers all win 2 of 3 in their series. The grade 8 passes the grade 1. And your typical local 7 o'clock Sunday night news dump that is one of the more shocking things. Maybe it's not. I'll explain a little bit later, but that I've encountered in my many years of covering sports in this state. So good Monday, everybody. Good morning. This is Gary and Matt. There's Jimmy. I'm Gary. There is Matt.
Hey.
How was your weekend?
Great.
Yeah.
Birthday week. I'm going to tell you something right now.
Oh, that's right. It was your birthday.
My
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. And shout out a couple listeners. A couple of listeners reached out to me and wished me a happy birthday. So thank you that as well.
And shout out to your parents for making you.
Yes. Shout out. Shout out to them.
Is that what you do? Do you like send them a card?
You should.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for thinking of me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for that night when you were snowed in and you said, you know what? We could use another addition to the family.
Well, it was July 4th. So it was, I don't
Different
think they
kind
were
of snow,
snowed in.
huh?
They were.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, if you're doing the math, I mean, April minus 9 months, July 4th.
But you got to be careful with the math when it comes to birth because it's not always. Yeah.
I like how you said that. Like that was like you're giving me a warning. Like, be careful. A lot of people get themselves in trouble.
Listen and learn.
Not all math is created the same, as I have learned teaching young kids the new math.
Fair enough.
I didn't even learn the old.
But that would be a good story, though. You were conceived on July 4th. You were the parents were in the cul-de-sac, and they decided, you know what? Let's have some fireworks of our own.
Yeah.
Well, Kobayashi dominated the hot dog competition.
For Betty and Scott, your parents.
Funny enough, my dad's birthday is on July 4th. So
I got a double.
Wow.
He got a double bang.
How about that? Anyway, one of my favorite birthday weekends. It was chill. It was nice. I wasn't running around or doing anything like that. We just watched basketball, had a couple of drinks. Cheers to my life.
Good.
23 years around the sun. My Michael Jordan / LeBron James here. I got a rangefinder for a very nice gift from one of my friends. So now I can find out exactly how far the pin is away when I shank it all the way to the left. It's
You have nicer friends at 23 than I do now.
I fear the gifts will only get worse and worse from here.
For lunch.
But yeah, it was a good weekend. I had a great time, dude. These last couple of weekends have been absolutely awesome for sports. We just get news drop after news drop, transfer portal, coach retires,
championships,
championship games, Final Four games, storylines, records broken. I mean, it's great.
Are you going to join the Jimmy and Gary party about the month of March and April?
Pretty nice.
Being great sports months.
They're fun.
Great sports months.
Behind October.
There is a lot of room that is available.
Behind October, March and April. March and April definitely, without a doubt, the best back-to-back months in sports. I don't think there is a better one consecutive after the other. I think October is the best sport month, but I don't think you get it. I don't feel as good about October and November.
Just give me those 3 months and we'll call it good.
As I do March and April. I mean, it's pretty bangers in March and April.
Speaking of golf, so I got to tell us a quick story because this is the week of the Masters. And Scotty Scheffler is the favorite. Let's go, Rory, for the 11th time must be the charm.
Plus 450.
Lincoln radio personality, somebody I do the Average Joe sports show with, Chris Schmidt, and his cousin, he got practice passes to the Masters. They won the lottery. I've gone 15 straight years where I've gotten the unfortunate email that said I am not going to be welcome to Augusta National. I've only been to Augusta National once. And it wasn't, the Masters weren't going on. Yeah. But it was like a couple of months before, and I thought I'd sneak in there and grab some Masters, stuff.
Yeah.
They only sell Augusta National stuff 51 weeks out of the year. The only week they sell Masters stuff in the pro shop is the week of the Masters. So I was like, okay,
makes sense.
I'll spend $100 here. But Schmitty and Iowa Russ, are down in Augusta.
That's awesome.
So they've been playing golf the last couple of days in the South. And of course I sent him a list of things I'd like him to buy.
You sent in your order?
Yeah. So they only have practice passes for today. Guess what?
What?
Due to expected inclement weather and safety concerns, patron gates will not open as scheduled for Monday's practice round. All patrons' parking lots will remain closed until further notice. No patrons should approach Augusta National Golf Club until more details are released. The next update will be provided at 8 a.m. Monday, which is 7 a.m. here. Here's the thing, because he sent me the screenshot that they got. He said the weather down there is the weather in the South the last couple of days have been wild. No rain checks either. So if you won the lottery and your day is rained out, you do not get a rain check.
You don't get hey, you can come on Tuesday or do you? Okay, so when you win the lottery, because I'm unaware. I understand the lottery, but I don't know everything goes into it. Do you still pay for a ticket, or are you just given a ticket?
You have the opportunity to purchase passes.
Gotcha.
Grounds passes.
Okay, so are they going to get refunded?
Nope.
Oh my Lord!
Schmitty said no rain checks.
That is one of the most heartbreaking sporting experiences you can
Checks
think
out
of.
though,
because you can. You've talked about it. Connor's talked about it. You can go years and years and years without winning one of these lotteries, getting one of these tickets. That's like going to the Super Bowl and they didn't play it in a dome, and then they ended up raining out the Super Bowl, and then they're like, "Hey, by the way, all the money you spent to get here,
rain at the Super Bowl.
Sorry."
Once.
I mean, this is the Super Bowl of golf.
What would it take to rain out a Super Bowl?
It would take,
because they tried the rain once, and we got the greatest halftime show.
It would take the football stadium collapsing in order for them to cancel the Super Bowl.
We would not want that to happen.
Whoa.
No, that would be
really,
terrible.
really unfortunate.
Well, now I want to go back to bed.
So I'll give you an update, but
that is brutal.
A little bit crushed because he said there may be limited access to the course.
That
Let you look at it for a few minutes.
And you can't get your gear no matter what. I mean, it just life gets in the way of you getting you're getting your master's gear with a nice little pin. What would you get? Would you get a polo or would you get a jacket?
I usually get a hat every year. I'm on a stretch of about, I think, 6 straight years where I have a hat. I
Okay.
hardly ever wear them. I just collect them. I'm more into collecting hats these days than actually wearing them.
Wearing hats, even though you do wear a hat for almost every single
But it's usually
show.
like the same hat.
Yeah.
It's got a little worn on it.
It's a good point.
Yeah. All right. Coming up a little bit later, Evan Bland will stop by. Lots to speak of. This will be the third week of spring ball and Nebraska baseball. Not going to be greedy. They need to win a series. They won 2 out of 3. Had a chance to sweep yesterday. Could not get it done against Rutgers. A huge week for Nebraska baseball. In Lawrence against a top 25 team in KU on Tuesday. And then they go to Iowa City to take on Iowa. Iowa's playing really, really well right now. But Nebraska won a series, baby steps. So we'll check in with Evan Bland coming up at 8:30. All right. Last night in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Has anybody checked on the crew? KP. He posted. He's on. Did he do the New York roller coaster? He posted some picture late last night into this morning. Nebraska basketball, which crazy. Finished the game on a 42-17 run yesterday to defeat Central Florida. Nebraska basketball has won an NIT and a Crown Championship, but they've never won a game in the NCAA tournament. I don't know that there's anybody else out there in college basketball without looking that has ever done that.
Well, they're the only Power 5 team to not win an NCAA tournament game. So I could say confidently.
And being how it is the inaugural crown, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that.
Sure, fair enough. I didn't think of that either.
So I didn't think they would get to yesterday. As you heard on Friday, I thought they would get destroyed by Boise State because I think Boise State's really, really good. And I was shocked that Nebraska won that game and just kind of the way they won that game. But I did not take into account that Juwan Gary is a dog, and Juwan Gary needs some money, okay? He would like to go to Raising Cane's and eat food, and he would like some cash. So I did not take that into account. So Nebraska wins on Saturday, and then you move to Sunday, and that weird game where you were up 12, and then you were down 14, and Juwan Gary's in the locker room, and you're like, well, this was fun while it lasted, to finishing on a 42-17 run. It was fun. It was fun. We said it all last week.
We had a great time.
It was fun, and I already closed the book on the regular season. This was fun. They won 4 games in 7 days. They had fun. They got paid, and that's what it is. They'll put a banner up. They're the crown champions. Guys got money. Guys got to feel good at the end of the year. Doesn't change what happened in the regular season when you didn't make your own conference tournament. But 3 weeks, who would have thought 3 weeks, a 3-week reset would get Nebraska basketball to playing close to what they're capable or showing what they're capable of doing. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I didn't think they'd be there. I was wrong on Friday. I took the L. But you know what? I had fun yesterday watching that against Central Florida, and I can't wait to see the pictures of Seamus shirtless in Vegas, if that's possible.
I think they should stay out there in Vegas for as long as they possibly can. I think they should spend, honestly, I mean, it's not like all these guys are going to classes anyway. I mean, they're probably mainly online. Just stay out there, you know? Go to the Cortez, go to the Wynn, I don't know, go to the Bellagio, have a good time. Stay at the roulette table, you know? I hear they got incredible restaurants there in Vegas. Go to Salt Bay's place or whatever, you know? Have a gold steak for $700. I mean, everybody, I'm serious. I mean, everybody's getting paid over there. They got a little money to spend. Why not? I mean, just, enjoy the vacation out in Vegas. Have a good time. I mean, I love the celebration. You brought it up. Vegas didn't counter into the fact that Juwan Gary likes money and that he really wanted the bag in his bank account.
Just ask us.
He just played incredible basketball. I mean, dude, when they won it and they panned the camera on him and he's doing the money signs, doing the celebration. I mean, we just didn't factor in the fact that guys like money and guys like to win and guys like to spend money, so they should enjoy it out there.
I mean, the thing was weird. The thing was fun. Gus Johnson was screaming a lot about $300,000, and Andrew Morgan grew up on a farm. I mean, it was
and Berke Butengel's from Lithuania.
I mean, it was fun. It was probably for that tournament in the first year. Nebraska winning it was the best case scenario because the fans were there. You had Dylan Raiola, who is living.
Yeah,
he was out there yesterday. I think solo. I don't think there were any teammates with him.
But the camera was only on him.
He just kind of popped up out in Vegas. So it was fun. They won. It's good for the seniors. Good for guys that are coming back. Good for Fred. And that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. They won a tournament that started 3 weeks after the regular season won. And you know what? They had to come back to do it. And I knew Fred would have them prepared. It's just all those things are mental this time of the year.
Yeah.
But they will have I'm sure they had a nice little celebration. And now we have to figure out how are we going to divvy up the cash? Because if everybody gets an equal percentage, I think each guy gets anywhere from 17 to 20,000. But should the money be distributed equally?
No.
Should it be like, okay, Bryce and Juwan get the largest share.
Yes.
Cale Jacobson is right behind. Then comes Asijan. Then comes Morgan. And then dropping in there is Sam. And then, of course, we have to find some cash for Ulis. Ulis earned some money.
Yes, he did. Two for 3 from the 3-point line, 8 points, tied his season high. Looked pretty good in his 18 minutes of play. I would give. I love this. I love we're talking about how they would divide the NIL money for the Crown. I'd give $175,000 split evenly to Juwan Gary and Bryce Williams. Okay. Then I would give Cale Jacobson a cool $25,000 because he's probably a guy that doesn't get a lot of NIL money to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And he played an incredible role and he looked really to the point where we have to have some speaks about him actually being some sort of key contributor on next year's team, because if he plays not only that defensive role like he did, but also a shot. I mean, he created shots for other players. He was great. I give him $25,000, $100,000. What? There's 9 guys left. Just split evenly. Everybody gets $10,000.
Jeffrey Grace gets some cash.
Yeah. Do your taxes. You'll get some. Don't worry, guys. They'll take out a lot now. Maybe you'll get some back when you do your tax returns in a year. It'll be fine. Put that in your pocket. Don't put it all on red. Have a good time. They're going to be eating a lot of Picklemans on the Crown over in Lincoln for the next couple of months.
So Bryce and Juwan would get the most cash, and
Easily.
they should. I think, though, probably with this team, everybody will get the same amount.
I get it. That would be very nice, and it's probably the classiest thing to do and the easiest thing to do. And you don't want to create the rift between like, oh, why did he get that much money? Oh, you value him more than I do, or this or that. Like maybe they could find a creative way in terms of like, hey, we're going to help the seniors out. The seniors are going to be living actual life. We're going to give them more money as an excuse to give more to Juwan and Bryce. But I mean, let's be honest. Life isn't created equally. All right. Life isn't.
Whoa.
Life.
Breaking news this morning.
Life isn't fair. All right. Not everybody gets the same amount of things. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. So, I mean, maybe they will split it evenly, but we all know who should be getting most of the cash. I mean, it's Bryce Joel.
So Juwan Gary is the MVP. Nebraska's going to miss 3 and 4.
Big time.
Just their mentality and how they approach their day-to-day business, and also being bucket getters. So I was happy that Bryce got the record yesterday. It was just, like winning this to win 4 games in 7 days, and winning is fun. That's what they say. It shows you like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go back to the regular season, but it does show you at bits and pieces during the regular season that when they had balance on offense, they were an NCAA tournament team. And I don't want to overthink. There was something that was not allowing Cale Jacobson to play more during the regular season, that maybe because Wooster was injured, his minutes went up out in Vegas on a different, he was running the point for a little bit, that allowed him to shine. And it puts into a conversation of, okay, do we find a role for him next year, or does somebody come find him? Because all I can think about is like Eric Henderson at Drake. Okay. He's looking at Cale Jacobson playing, and he's thinking, would it be better for him to come to Des Moines and be a starter on a Missouri Valley Conference team, or stay in his home state and be like a 7th or 8th man? Because there's no guarantee that he's going to have the same kind of role that he had in Vegas. Because why wasn't he playing more during the regular season?
And it is hard to give him that role. I mean, it's easy to give him that role during the Crown, right? Like this isn't,
especially when Wooster's not available.
Yeah, this is a tournament. Like it's for NIL money. I mean, it's still, you want to win it, and they played hard, but it's very easy. Like no one's going to get really mad at you if you play Cale Jacobson in the Crown and you put him in that role and he's not good, right? And so the stakes are different. The competition is much different once you get to next year, once you get into Big Ten play. And, frankly, and I thought Kale played incredibly, but I don't know if Fred Hoiberg and his staff should be saying, well, no, we're not going to go out and get this transfer portal guy we really, really like because we have Kale Jacobson. Like, I don't think 4 games in the Crown. Well, yeah. I mean, depending on how much money and everything that they have. So it's like, you definitely have to take that into consideration. But like, you see him play, man. It's like he plays a lot. He plays the role that Sam Hoiberg plays, but he's 6'4", and his body seemed like it's developed into being stronger, and he looks really, really fast on the court. And he was able to get into the paint pretty much with ease. Like when he was playing, I mean, he was using his body, and his body control was really impressive. So it's like, you look at those things and you have to consider all of that. At the same time, you do have to take this with a grain of salt in a certain way, because you're playing teams that didn't make the NCAA tournament. You're playing in a off-season tournament where half these teams didn't have their rosters. Some of them were in the portal. Some of them opted out. Like,
it was fun.
It's fun, and
it's fun,
and it'll be interesting to see like how they self-scout and self-evaluate themselves after this.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't look at 4 games that were played in Las Vegas.
Me too.
The meaningful part of winning the crown is, what is the lesson you learn during the regular season? I mean, that's and you can already see what they've done on Friday and Saturday in the portal. They're starting to address some of those needs. Now, the other part of the crown and the run out in Vegas is the way that Fox went all in on this. Okay, Fox went deep in promoting this because they don't have the NCAA men's basketball tournament. I think there is a bright future for the crown because of the money that is involved, and they had sponsors, and as long as sponsors are willing to step up, I think Fox will go all in on this. I wonder if it'll stay at the same time period, because I think this is going to push the NIT out, and will it expand, but will it stay at the same time? Because I think they were able to go all in because the NCAA tournament was not going on when they started.
Yeah.
When they started on that Monday, it was the week between the Elite Eight and the Final Four. So they had a whole week before they got to the weekend, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where they had competition. But do they keep it like this, where a team may have 3 weeks off before they play like Nebraska did? And then the other part I'm wondering, as I'm watching this and Fox going all in, without Gus really doing any prep, which is amazing, is does Fox, which does not have the college football playoff or the College World Series, does Fox think, you know what? We've got money. We can find money. There's somebody out there that wants to spend money. We will give money to athletes. Do we try and push the Bulls out of business that ESPN basically owns, and we do our own college football crown of, let's say we do 12 teams or we do 8 teams.
Yeah.
And then another step, do we do something with college baseball? As we don't have access to the NCAA tournament, what if we did baseball? The football thing is kind of interesting, because what if the incentive for some of these lower level or mid-tier bowl games is, hey, man, you might have to start giving incentives so guys don't opt out. What if Fox put together the crown for college football and they had 8 teams and the winning team splits, I don't know, $1 million?
That would be...
I mean, this has to be a consideration, right?
Oh, without a doubt, too. And also, too, I wonder if you're going to have a lot of these athletic departments who are going to be needing money. Like in some sort of, when you have $20 million now of extra revenue that you need to distribute to your athletes in your department, you're going to be getting to the point where it's like every penny counts, even more so than what it did before. If Fox was able to invest in something like that and commit to something like that and really go all forward into it, and then tell athletic departments, hey, we'll give $1 million to your athletes, but we'll also give you $2 million or $3 million just as a prize, just as a winning, that goes to your fund. I think teams would absolutely invest in that. And I do think as well, like college football, to the point where you have the top, right now it's 12, right? It'll eventually be 16. But if you're 17 through 24 and you end up winning that tournament, you definitely can make a case. Hey, look, we beat 2 or 3 ranked teams to end the year. We are one of the best teams in college football. We have this championship. Hey, now we have this amount of money, this extra money to play with, you can cultivate that into actual momentum for your program. Now, that's all. It really just comes down to how much are you willing to invest? How much money are you willing to put into it? And do you think you're going to get the ROI in terms of interest?
If you let's say on Fox for the football, you're Big 10 country, you're Big 12 country. You don't think if you said, "Hey, Michigan and Nebraska," which will draw eyeballs, play in this instead of going to the Pinstripe Bowl or
1,000,000%.
Where did Michigan go? Tampa?
They didn't. They went to They played Alabama. I forgot what the name of the game was, but they were in Florida.
So that would be incentive to come and play in the Crown College Football Championship.
I think it would work way better.
We play for $1 million, and you'd have to. Your insert would be you get money for playing in the game. It just by the 2 rounds that you go.
Sure,
of course it goes up. I got to imagine that this is on the table, that somewhere in the Fox executive headquarters in Los Angeles, this is an idea, because they're probably going to look at the Crown and go, you know what, it was a success. I don't know what the ratings will be, but they got some attention. But why not college football with people looking for cash like you were alluding to?
Everybody loves a bracket. Everybody loves a bracket. You add another bracket to college football, you add another tournament like that, and you kind of alluded to it too. Bowl games are a made-for-TV product, right? They're still around because there's a ton of money in licensing and TV rights and sponsorships and everything like that. But in terms of like actual fan interest, unless you are in the college football playoff, there really aren't that many bowl games that people are fully invested in, that they're sitting down, they're excited to watch. If you were able to give, a athletic department incentives, if you were able to give athletes incentives, and you then made a tournament that had more great football teams playing against each other late into December, early January, that absolutely would garner way more interest in that, as opposed to playing in these kind of random bowl games against these random teams. And like, let's be honest here.
That wouldn't be a knock on it. I mean, you're going to go head to head with ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's essentially what the Crown was. Now, ESPN doesn't control the men's tournament, but Fox is trying to inch in the door. I think it would be more of a swinging of the sword to go against ESPN in December.
I think Gus Johnson, I know we did a lot of, we've talked about him and him not doing a ton of prep, and it wasn't his best work, but he did a very good job at the end of the game. And when they were celebrating, on selling the crown, on like being like, they did it, they came together, they won this tournament, they are the first crown champions, everything like that. Like it was clear. It was kind of funny because you knew that he was almost given like a script, and the directors at Fox were like, hey, you need to say this with enthusiasm to like put this tournament over, to like make it matter. But you could tell that when he did that and he was talking like that, like they were like, this is really important to them. Like they're actually like investing in this, and they want this to work out. And like, we'll see if next year. Now, my worry about the Crown is that you had guys enter the transfer portal, you had guys opt out, you had guys not want to play in it. I think that as the years go on, if that continues to happen, it'll be a more difficult thing to sell. Like, what if Bryce Williams decided that he didn't want to play?
I think the portal calendar for basketball will move.
Yeah,
so you might be saved there.
Yeah, but that'll be important as well. Like if you continue to get those opt outs. But back to a football convo, I don't think football. I think players opt out of bowl games. If you're telling players, hey, you get to up your draft stock by playing multiple games against top teams, and you're going to be able to be on the front end of getting a ton of money if you end up winning this tournament. I don't know how many players would really opt out of a Crown-style football tourney.
Speaking of brackets, how's everybody's bracket doing? Look at old. Look
at you.
I got the Houston, Florida final with Florida winning. I'm 297th.
What? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm still rolling with UH.
Hey, that's the bracket that I went chalk, 98.7%.
Let me look at mine. I did not go chalk. I am 60th percentile. I rank 9 million.
Pass.
I didn't go chalk. I didn't go chalk like you, like everybody else, and decide to put, all the number 1 seeds in the Final Four. I went with some creativity and, put together a bracket I truly believed in. All right, I had BYU in the Final Four, which wasn't a bad pick. They played some pretty damn good basketball. I had, wait. I had Florida. I had Auburn. I had 2 of the 4 in the Final Four. I have Florida winning it all, though. So if they win tonight, I'll be boosted up into 1,200 points. But I'm in another family tournament bracket. My sister's in first place.
Oh, let's go, sister.
My mother's in second place, and my father's in third place.
That would mean you're in. Oh,
and I'm bringing up the caboose in 9th place right now.
The guy who works at a sports radio station.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I heard all week.
BYU in the Final Four would have ruined the ratings. The ratings were great. We like brands. We like phenomenal games. That's what we got. We'll discuss that because tonight is the final game of college basketball between Florida and Houston. We can then sleep in April, according to John Rothstein.
I thought you sleep in May.
I'd rather sleep in April.
I like sleeping.
What does he do for the next 3 weeks? Observe the portal?
Probably, and write a bunch of articles and tell you a bunch of people are going here and there or wherever. I don't know what that'd be a great question for John Rothstein. What do you do for the next 23 days?
Block people on Twitter?
Jeez. Yeah, probably. Watch the Masters.
Jay tweets at Gary Sharp 1620. Fox now televises Live Golf. So they have built a partner, the Saudi PIF fund, with unlimited money to subsidize a Crown football tournament. This has got to be on the table, and it would be more appealing than the college basketball 16-team field that was just in Vegas. And you know what? You could play it in Vegas, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You could find a way in December when the Raiders were gone and play it at the Roomba.
Well,
play it over.
Here's it.
Get 8 teams, so you'd go 1. I don't know. You could play it all in Vegas.
The crap teams could play the Sam.
I don't know. You could bring the 8 teams to Vegas, and then 4 would stay for another week, but would then the 2 stay for another week? Because you couldn't. You'd have to go week by week, but you could start it in Vegas.
What if they just did all the games at team schools, at school sites, on campuses? What if they just did all the games? Hey, if you are the top team, you get to host the championship game. Like, that'd be, I don't know, you got to make it unique. You got to make it a little bit different, right?
Definitely a possibility.
Like, I think that, and maybe it would, like, lower costs, too, in terms of the tickets or, like, what they could do or, like, planning everything like that. Like, I know what you're saying, like, to make official events like that, it seems a little bit more professional when you put it in one venue or you put it in a big area. But you do also have to look at a perspective of how are we different? Like, how are we just not a worse version of the college football playoff?
Yeah, you might want to be different because they play home sites. You may want to keep it in Vegas, and also you don't have to pay rent, so you control all the money. Yeah. All right, coming up a little bit later, Evan Bland stops by. Also coming up this morning at 9:30 downtown, there will be a press conference that just came out of the blue last night. Something is not adding up with Kirsten Bernthal Booth stepping down after 22 years as the volleyball coach at Creighton. Very, very clunky the way that it was handled last night. For somebody that is a lifer and where she has taken that program to where it is now, in my mind, something is not adding up about this. And we'll find out today. I mean, she's been coveted and she is such a pro and a great human and a great family in this community. But that just seemed very odd that at 7:00 last night, there was just a release in a tweet for somebody that for 22 years has brought the Creighton volleyball program from the ground to being a top 10 program in the Big East. But at 9:30 this morning, they will have a press conference as they hand it off from KBB to Brian Rosen, who was the assistant coach of the year in college volleyball a couple of years ago and is really, really good. Just seems this doesn't seem right. Something isn't right. And maybe it'll make sense when she announces what her next step is. Maybe it's AVCA president. Maybe it is running one of the volleyball professional leagues. We'll find out coming up at 9:30, but we will discuss this because I'll tell you why things are not adding up in my head. You can always join the program on this fine big Monday, 402-951-1620. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. I'm sure we'll hear from old man Doug.
Oh, yeah.
Right, he's upset that Josh Dix is coming to Creighton.
I think he's probably happy about it.
Why? He had no loyalty to Iowa.
Doug's all about loyalty.
Gary at 1620thezone.com or Matt at 1620thezone.com or on Twitter at Gary Sharp 1620 or Matt McMedia. Nebraska ball, Mike on the Crown morning after, and your favorite guy, Andrew. Stay right there. We'll get to you when we come back on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, something I didn't realize until I was going to bed last night, because yesterday was an historic day. I never thought in my lifetime I would see an NBA and NHL scoring record fall with LeBron and Ovi yesterday, who gets 895, ironically, on a snipe.
Such a good shot.
Do you know what else happened yesterday that was surrounding Ovechkin's record setter on Long Island?
What? No, I don't.
Bring up the Philadelphia Philly, Los Angeles Dodger box score.
Was he at it again?
Nick
way.
Castellanos hit a grand slam
How
yesterday.
about that? I guess you tried to warn us last year.
Nicky. Oh, Nicky. I mean, he can't help himself. Do you know? Have you seen that whole tweet?
Yes.
It is bookmarked somewhere in my Twitter page. It is what I think is one of the greatest tweets ever. The full documented what did Nick Castellanos do on certain holidays, certain events were accomplished, even like going back to, I think like a minor league announcer was talking about the passing of his father, like a very emotional soliloquy. And
D-Day,
Nick Castellanos
over.
just happened to have been in AAA, like on a rehab stint, and while he was telling this very emotional story about his father, hit a homer. I mean, it's incredible. I'm pretty sure last year during Pearl Harbor, Nick Castellanos hit a home run, and that was like a big bonus bet on DraftKings. Like, it is incredible how that guy just fails. He never fails. He never fails to hit a home run on weird days.
Kenny Albert and Joe Benedetti, who is the television voice of the Capitals, had great calls on the Ovechkin record setter yesterday. Also, a shout out to my Lincoln Stars, who it took them 20 years, but they have won the Anderson Cup in the USHL with a week to go. They're not as good as the Anderson Cup team. I'm just kidding. I'm happy for them. They've had a great season. Hopefully they will carry it through and add a Clark Cup to that. Because that's all we do around here is just win crowns and cups and talk to Nebraska ball. Mike. Hello. Hello. Did you have a little whiskey last night? Did you smoke a cigar?
Yeah.
Did you have someone crown you?
Stop.
I think it's a fair question. Okay.
Is my program dying?
Nebraska basketball?
No, they're thriving, Mike.
Hold on. Whoa. Do you not have Fox? Do you not have FS1? Did you see what happened over the last 7 days?
Oh, they won. I don't care.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, you had fun though, right?
It was. Bryce. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Juwan, even though Juwan forgot who he was for about a month. Thought he could shoot threes. But
well, he hit 4 of them.
It's like,
other than Juwan, other than Bryce, maybe sneaking into the NBA draft, my program is dying.
No. Whoa. No,
yeah, they are.
What do you mean they're dying?
What do you mean? They just won a tournament, Mike.
Josh State got paid $2.5 million by who?
Okay. So
my program is dying.
I don't think they're any more dead than when they lost to Iowa at PBA. If anything, they are less dead.
They don't have the money to spend like they need to spend it. They've got better coaches coming in the Big Ten. They had a window right now for 2 years. They didn't take advantage of it. They're dying.
They just got $300,000, baby.
Talk me off the ledge.
Okay.
That's where I am.
The Nebraska basketball is not dying. I don't know where you get that from. Stop reading whatever you're reading. Stop talking to her. Well, what are you doing? Hey, so we're not talking about the regular season. They didn't make the Big Ten, okay?
I go back to 96 too and say the same thing.
Well, now we're all
that
over.
was the better team.
Hold on. Okay. So next year, are we in agreement that next year for Nebraska basketball with Fred is NCAA tournament or bust? There is no ifs, ands, or buts, right?
They don't have the bodies right now to say anything.
Whoa. They are in the portal. They just got done with their season, Mike. Okay? And while they were in Vegas, they added 2 guys that fit and make more sense than Berkay and Braxton adding those 2 last year.
Are they going to go?
Go away. Who?
2 that don't fit.
Well, I don't hear why they don't fit is probably they didn't use them properly. Okay? Why was Braxton Mia spending more time on the floor, not in the paint, but out near the 3-point line? That made no sense whatsoever. Berkay, I don't know what happened. He didn't play much yesterday. But he's a guy that I think if he got in the gym and wanted to be good at his craft and worked on his 3-point shooting, he could be an asset next year. But I don't know what he's thinking. And he's also expensive. Like, would he have to take a pay cut? Do they have a discussion with him and say, hey, we can't give you as much money as we gave you last year? And he says, okay, I'm out. I mean, I think him, Gavin Griffiths is a guy that to watch. They'll have a couple of guys in the portal, but they're also very active in the portal. And the 2 guys they've added, Mike, make sense. Like Nebraska is not a all-time winning program. So they're not going to attract everybody that's in the portal that they want. So they have to be smart in the portal. I didn't like what they did last year. And they hung around with guys that drug them along for a long time and then pulled the ripcord. And then they were caught, what do we do? And they had to settle. I like the two guys they have added from Iowa and Central Michigan. They may not be flashy guys. They may drive KP crazy with trying to pronounce a new name.
Yeah.
But they actually make sense for what Fred wants to do. So the program is not dying. They have to find a way through the process now before they start summer workouts in June. Do they have a team that can be in the NCAA tournament out of the Big Ten? Can they be one of the top 10 teams that probably puts you in the field of 68?
I don't have $2.5 million in my couch. Okay?
Well,
and Andrew's going to come behind me and laugh at me.
What I mean,
okay?
I don't understand
right
what the comment is though, because
they can fall asleep and get a kid.
Well,
top 20 shooter in the country.
Why did they do that, Mike? Because they have a history of winning. They won 5 straight opening round games, and they also have more money devoted to men's basketball. They also have another thing with Creighton, and they have been very aggressive, and they have hit their targets. Is they have a
not only hitting their targets, they don't miss.
No, they don't, and that's why they're attractive. But they also have a 2-year window. As aggressive as they are in the portal, my opinion, they have a 2-year window with Mac to get him to the Final Four before Mac is done and retires. So they are going to go all in. They're going to go all in on this year's roster and the next 2 years to make sure that they get a crack at the Final Four, that Mac has a roster that he can cultivate that can be playing this time next year or the following year.
They better hope they don't want to run into a 1 seed unless they are a 1 seed.
I think that's every team in the NCAA tournament.
They had a reason to beat Auburn.
It was a tough game. It was a
played
tough
well in
matchup
the
for
first
them.
half.
I mean, Bruce Pearl and Auburn did a really good job against
You
Kalkbrenner.
got to play better than that so you don't get a 9 seed.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were hurt by the beginning of their season. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
They got to the NCAA tournament. They got to the next round. They got beat by an Auburn team that they had an opening and they couldn't beat. And Auburn was the two best teams at the end of the year in college basketball are playing tonight. Duke was not.
Agreed.
Duke, when they played good teams, they were not. When Auburn, in their last 9 games, they were 5-4. Mm-hmm. So they had an opportunity. They weren't able to get it done, but they still were in the NCAA tournament. Mike, Nebraska basketball is not dying. Stop that. Do not listen to those people.
It just.
But
I feel so sorry for a kid like Bryce Williams who busted his ass.
Okay.
And I'm so sick of being 2 games away. Every year we're any good.
Well, this year was frustrating, no doubt. They were as streaky as when you ran through the quad naked back in the day. All right.
I can't run.
Well, back in the day. All right, Mike. Just Mike, enjoy the crown. All right. Celebrate, and tweet at Kent Pavelka today.
I heard a rumor that he might be gone.
Where's he going?
Yeah, where's KP gonna go?
Not true.
Unless it was okay.
Not true. That is
we owe him one before he leaves, please.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I don't even want to think about that.
No, he's not going anywhere. All right. Are you better now?
Well, if these kids pan out, I'll be better. But I know what Josh Dix is going to be able to do.
Well, you have
I
to.
can already see him.
You have to find fits, okay? And the 2 that they've added kind of make sense. And remember, you have Rink Mass coming back, Mike.
Yeah.
Rink Mass changes a lot of things. I mean, look at the Nebraska basketball season's probably been over for a week or 2 if Rink Mass is playing, because they're in the NCAA tournament. All right.
Now, is Bryce Williams going to mess around and get drafted?
Probably not. I mean, he's just a little bit too old for the NBA in terms of using a draft. Like 23. I mean, most of these guys who get drafted, Mike, are 18, 19 years old. Those are the top prospects, right? These
he'll be playing in the summer
seniors
league
and super
though.
seniors. I mean, they don't get drafted that often, but he will. If he wants to go he'll be in the summer league, like Jimmy said, and if he wants to try the G League, he can try the G League. But he might be better off and might be able to make more money playing in Europe. But really, I mean, he's the type of player where, in terms of not playing in the NBA, he's got a lot of options elsewhere.
I love the captain, but I think he's better than Pettaway was.
Yeah. I mean, they're all kind of James Palmer Jr., Bryce Williams, and Petaway are all kind of grouped together in a nice little 2-year run. But Bryce had a hell of a 2 years. He's going to be difficult to replace. Really, really difficult because of the intangibles he brings. Mike, have a better Monday, all right? Celebrate the crown, all right? Because life is fun and the crown is fun.
I'm just used to it, that's all.
Hey, basketball will be here before you know it. Nebraska and BYU will be playing at Pinnacle Bank Arena in exhibition in October before you know it, all right? Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you next week for WrestleMania.
Okay.
All right. Whoa.
They're dying.
KP's younger
They're
than
winning
me.
a postseason title. They're dead. Look, we just can't. Creighton and Nebraska are in very different spots in college basketball right now, especially with the rev share and one school having football at the top and one school having basketball at the top. If you just want to, don't make yourself mad and compare the two programs because they're handling things in very different ways because they're both in very different positions.
When we come back, we will get into the big announcement that'll be was unveiled last night. There'll be a press conference at 9:30 today. Kirsten Bernthal Booth, 22 years, the head volleyball coach at Creighton. Most places, this wouldn't even be a blip, but this is a big deal because she's a big deal. And again, just odd, very, very odd. We'll dive into that. Plus, of course, Florida and Houston tonight. We got to talk about Duke. John Shire and Ryan Day have similarities.
I had a feeling that comparison might be coming, but I mean, it's Kelvin Sampson did a job on Saturday. Did a job.
And tonight, if he wins, it's his 300th career victory. How about that?
That's great.
All right, hour 2 coming next on 1620 The Zone. Winning the crown does strange things to you. Be careful out there, everybody on the streets today, especially if you run into a Nebraska ball, Mike. Be careful if you're Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, you got to pull in nice and calm today.
Again, weather at Augusta, so Scotty's got to be careful. Head on a swivel. You got to watch out for the authorities.
Drive the speed limit. Make sure your headlights are on. Just smile and wave. Honestly, I don't think Scotty should drive himself to the Masters. Considering how much money I'm going to put on him, I think that he needs a chauffeur, that if anything were to go awry, they would get arrested and not him. Because I don't think, you can warm up for a U.S. Open in a jail cell. I don't think you can do that for Augusta.
Weather conditions may limit practice today.
God, I feel terrible for those people. I feel awful.
Yeah, I'm going to check in with Schmitty here.
Like, knowing me, I would be like a kid on Christmas. Like going to Augusta, going there. Like, I would be so excited. You have to think that so many of these people for the last couple of months have been doing nothing but looking forward to this opportunity to walk the grounds, to be a patron, to go to the pro shop, have a pimento cheese sandwich, see some of the greatest golfers in the world practice. And then it's just like, nah, screw ya. It's going to rain today. You need it. Try better next time.
I just texted Schmitty. I know he was staying in Augusta last night, I think at an Airbnb, which probably only cost about $100 or so. But this is Masters Week. Jim Nantz will enjoy his Houston Cougars tonight, and then he'll make his way to Augusta. We make our way to Andrew, who is holding through the break. Thank you, Andrew. Good Monday morning, my friend.
Good Monday morning. The Masters is one of the best events ever to watch. I did not watch The Crown, but I heard
Shame on you.
I was busy watching the Ocho, the air guitar finals.
Yes.
On the Ocho, the air off, I think they called it. Have you ever watched that?
It was
pretty interesting.
It was at for Matt Rule's press conference. ESPN 8 The Ocho was actually on in the press conference room, so a lot of people were watching some weird sports before he took the podium.
You win for the best air guitar in this thing.
Are you a good air guitar guy, Andrew?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. I'm just gonna say to Mike, Nebraska basketball has been dead since Danny Nee left.
I think that's rude. Probably incorrect there, Andrew. I mean, that's
no, it's right.
What is dead? I mean, what would you consider dead? They're still alive. They're not a club basketball team. They're still playing basketball.
They haven't been relevant forever.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I don't understand the insult or the sentiment that it's like they're dead. Yeah, they haven't won an NCAA tournament game. They're trying to figure it out.
Oh.
They're investing money in players. They got a coach who made the NCAA tournament last year.
But
it didn't work out for them this year. It's called building a program. It's called trying to have some tradition. You just want them. You're just going to say they're dead, and you just want them to give up.
Well, they should, but
that's ridiculous. That's just you're just pulling strings.
If you're going to be competitive, you have to spend the money, and they're not spending the money.
I mean, they just got 2 transfers. One of them was an all-conference for a MAC team who's going to fit really well against Rink Mask and is very efficient around the rim. And then they just got a sharpshooter from Iowa who's going to fit in really nicely and spread the floor. I mean, they've gotten 2 transfer portal guys where they have invested money in order to build the roster to be better for next year.
But are they Josh Diggs? Are they?
But we're not going to get into this because
you're comparing Creighton and Nebraska. That's quite a bonus for Nebraska, I would think.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying they're always going to be a football school.
That's true.
Yeah,
they're not going to spend money on basketball.
Not true.
They are spending money on basketball.
Not enough.
Well, because they're not. Creighton is a basketball school. Creighton is their top sport is basketball. Their top revenue earner is basketball. The most invested thing that you are invested in with Creighton Athletics is basketball. So you're going to invest a lot in basketball. That's not the case for Nebraska. Nebraska's main investment is in football, and so you can't necessarily compare the two, or you're lowering yourself as a Creighton fan when you're comparing the 2 programs, because one program doesn't invest nearly as much or doesn't have as big of a vested interest in the sport that we're talking about. And granted, the last 2 out of the 3 years, the team that you're calling dead and the program that you're calling dead beat the team that is investing more in basketball.
Well, even a blind squirrel can find a nut.
Well, they did it 2 times in the last 3 years, Andrew. So
here's the thing. I'm not comparing it to you.
yes, you are. Yes, you are. I just literally told you what they got in the transfer portal, and you go, are they Josh Dix?
I think you're obsessed with Nebraska basketball.
Yeah.
If you want to get to Creighton status, you have to spend the money.
But they're not interested. They aren't going to do that because how it works is that they're a football school, so they're going to invest more into football, and they literally, based on what we have on the revenue sharing, they won't be able to even take nearly enough money out of that share to invest in basketball with how much Creighton invests in basketball, because Creighton gets to take 80% or 70% of what the rev share is for Creighton basketball or for Creighton athletics.
So I guess what I'm trying to tell you, Matthew, is don't get excited about Nebraska basketball because it won't ever get.
That is so asinine. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Because
absolutely ridiculous to say that just because there are so many other the entirety of the Big Ten and the entirety of the SEC are going to invest the same amount of percentage in rev share that Nebraska basketball is going to, because all those other teams are football schools. You get to sit high and mighty because you're in the Big East and you don't have a football school. So you don't have a football team. So you get to invest in basketball. But to say don't care about Nebraska basketball because they're not investing as much as the Big East teams are. All right, so I guess every Big Ten team and every SEC team shouldn't care about basketball anymore, Andrew. Does that make sense? Or do you look at what's going on today as you have an SEC school and a Big 12 school playing each other in the national championship?
I don't know, Matt. I mean, the SEC seems to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. This is we're just going to talk in circles here. But I want you to know something, Andrew. Fred Hoiberg has something. He's done something that no Nebraska basketball coach has ever done.
What's that?
He has beaten Creighton in the same year, won the Diamond Head Classic and the Crown. There you go. Andrew, I always appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day. And we need to talk about KBB next time, all right?
Hey, yes. I enjoy you guys. You guys are very good to talk to in the morning.
Love you long time. Not sure what we accomplished there.
And you just cannot compare.
I was able to sneak in my Fred Hoiberg.
You cannot compare the two schools. You cannot compare the two programs because of the percentage invested from the revenue share pie. You can't do that. And just say give up on it. It frustrates me.
Oh, you look angry. You look livid over there.
Just don't tell people that they don't know.
Andrew calls in and talks to you.
No, just don't tell people that they shouldn't care about a sport because they're not investing as much as other teams when the other teams have more to invest. Can't tell people don't root for Nebraska basketball because they can't invest as much as the Big East. That makes no sense. And have people ever heard of doing less with more? Does the team that wins championships in every professional league, are they the team that's spending the most money? No. You can win championships and not spend the most money. College football,
just play in the NCAA tournament next year, please. And not that is the end goal, but in the tournament and win a game. Whatever you do in the portal, you have to build a roster to get there. And then, we'll be happy for a long time. The gates at Augusta are now open. An update from Chris Schmidt.
Thank God.
He's getting ready to go in. He said, of course, he's asking me what I want because there are no cell phones. So he can't go into the pro shop and take a picture.
Oh.
So the gates at Augusta are open, and he is very relieved.
I'd be relieved, too. That would be like the worst day ever, in my opinion, if you were to be setting up to go to Augusta National and ended up getting rained out and you couldn't go. That would be a nightmare. The nightmare of all nightmares.
Wild stuff yesterday, 7:00. I'm driving away from a Crown watch party. Yes, I was at a Crown watch party.
You were at a Crown. You were making fun of me for being excited about the tournament. So for saying that I was going to watch the game, saying that I was excited. You were at a Crown watch party.
I didn't think I'd be watching it on Sunday. Remember, I thought they get beat by Boise State. They surprised me. I'm okay. You know what? Probably I'm so upset that they beat Boise State. I'll probably renew my season tickets. But yes, I went to a watch party, and so I was driving home, and I got a actually got a text first, and then I saw the alert that there is a change with Creighton Volleyball. So at 9:30 this morning, executive decision, Mr. Producer, should we carry it?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I went blank.
They're going to
for a second.
stream it. They're going to stream the Kirsten Bernthal press conference downtown. Yay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
carry that 9:30.
I think it's important.
So, first and foremost, anybody that has known Kirsten, Coach Booth, living in this community, for what she did when they basically played before an empty civic auditorium and there was no investment in the program, and she started kind of from scratch to build it into a top 10 program out of the Big East, not a power conference in volleyball, is an amazing accomplishment. And in 22 years, it's like the Bill Snyder of college volleyball, of what she's done in Omaha. So she has always come across as a lifer. Now, I think she's a wonderful person. She's got a wonderful family. They live here in Omaha. She fits of the kind of coaches that Bruce Rasmussen hired.
She's been on before.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, she's wonderful. So this is why I'm having trouble with this. So 22 years. She was offered the Kansas job in the offseason. She turned it down to come back to Creighton. And I don't know what the discussion was between her and her boss about, okay, can we have an extension? Can we get more money from the program? What are we going to do? Because they're rolling right now, and you don't want that to take a step back. I mean, you could arguably make the case that volleyball at Creighton is the second best sport going, okay, in terms of success through the Big East and then on into the postseason. So for somebody that's been the head volleyball coach for 22 years, that has built that program from the bottom and taken it to the top, and there's no sign that it's like, oh my God, they're in trouble. Remember, they were a match away from going to the Final Four. They had to go to Penn State, got beat by Penn State, the eventual national champion. But this is what I'm having a hard time with, and we're going to find out more today, I hope, is someone that is in the prime of their career, okay? And I no health reasons, anything like that. I know her daughter. The family is very important. She got a daughter playing over in Northern Iowa. She's very involved in growing the sport, which is a hurt to this state because, I mean, we're gonna have a volleyball season where John Cook and Kirsten Bernthal Booth, two people who have been not only highly successful but have been great ambassadors for the sport, are not going to be on the sidelines. So I'm hoping that Coach Booth stays in the game, maybe as AVCA president, which she currently is, or there's something else in her volleyball world. But when somebody has given 22 years and is the coach, a tweet at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night is going to get my tentacles up and going, something doesn't seem right here. It was very clunky. For someone that deserves more, if you would have just said, we have a press conference Monday morning at 9:30, I would have been like, okay. But a tweet at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, and then less than 24 hours later, we have a press conference. I hope that there's some dots that get connected, but there's just something to me is not adding up about why now. And I hope we get some answers. And I'm bummed because I think that her passion is coaching Creighton volleyball. And I'm kind of sad that maybe that passion isn't there anymore. And so she's going to do something else because I think she is, her passion and her skill set, which is through the roof, is better suited to be the volleyball coach at Creighton than somewhere else.
The year before she took over as the Creighton volleyball coach, they won 3 games. And you fast forward all the way to now, they were in the Elite Eight, played a competitive game against what would be the eventual national champion, have won 11 Big East tournaments. Just an absolutely incredible legacy. But when you compare the two, John Cook retiring and, Kirsten Bernthal Booth stepping down essentially, or, resigning from the job, it's very like you look at one, you look at the other, and one was very premeditated and very ready. And, they honored John Cook with the post and had a beautiful press conference. And then you had the transition of power.
This has been on the table for John Cook for multiple years.
Yes.
This one came out of
nowhere.
This one came out of nowhere.
Nowhere. And it's a very great point from you, and you're absolutely right. And I kind of questioned it too. Why just bang right out of nowhere? No one saw it coming. No hint or maybe foreshadowing at any point that this could happen. It's just 7:00 on a Sunday. Creighton's got a new head volleyball coach. Why not do hey, we have a press conference tomorrow involving volleyball. We'll all speculate, hey, Coach Booth is probably going to resign. Brian Rosen will probably take over. Have her do a very, very nice speech, honor the program, and then go off. It was very strange that yesterday was just a bang, done, gone. Hey, here you go. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, and it could, there's sometimes we don't know the behind the scenes stuff. You're working for somebody that did not hire you. That could factor into play here as well. Hopefully, we'll get some answers. Probably not today, but that's a huge loss for the sport and for Creighton volleyball. And 22 years, somebody who I thought was going to be a lifer. I hope whatever her next challenge is continues to grow the sport, because she loves the sport and she loves young women and turning them into great humans. So we'll carry that at 9:30 this morning. But that popped at 7:00 yesterday. And I went, excuse me?
Yeah. Had to blink a couple of times to see if you're reading it right. Yeah.
All right, 18 past the hour. A little bit later, Evan Bland will stop by. It'll be week 3 of spring football. There's not a lot of attention towards spring football here and there. But if you want to get fired up about something, I saw a picture over the weekend. They've done it again over in Iowa City. We'll touch on that as we roll till 10. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, Omaha Roofing Company. There's a lot of options out there, but there is only one that is the MVP of Omaha because of what they do. That is Moose Roofing. Pat Moose, former Husker walk-on tight end from Pierce, Nebraska, behind Moose Roofing. They're an incredible team as we get into the spring season, where there's going to be storms and your roof and your gutters and your siding is going to take. Moose Roofing is there for you. It's an incredible process, as I've sat down with Pat and got to know how everything works. They're focused on you, restoration, also gutters, siding, roofing systems, all of that. Residential, commercial, roof repair and service. They have got it all at Moose Roofing. And what they do is they just don't show up. They don't drive around the neighborhood and they go, let's stop there and check on that roof. You know what? They just don't show up and put on a roof. They show up and they get to know their customers. It starts with the consultants who sit down and they review the key elements of your roofing system. And if you don't need to do anything with your roof, they're going to say, you don't need to do anything with your roof. But if you do, they'll walk you through the process to make sure that they fortify your roof before the next major storm occurs. Or, as Pat told me, there's a lot of homeowners that are getting ready to sell their house and they want to make sure they have a solid roof. So they can do that as well. From Southwest Iowa all the way to Lincoln, the MVPs are Moose Roofing. And they do one other thing that you don't find in the roofing business. They've got an entire department that's dedicated to helping you navigate the ever-increasingly difficult insurance claims process. They do it all for you so that you're satisfied. Be satisfied today. You think your roof needs to be taken care of before the next storm? They're here before, during, and after the storm. Moose Roofing is the place to go. Online at mooseroofing.com. So, in our discussion earlier about practice pass for the grounds today, Schmidt just sent me a picture of his pass, $100 for a practice round today.
But he's good now, so they open the gates.
They've
and
opened the
all's
gates.
well.
They're going to practice today, so the patrons can be
the patrons
moving along at Augusta National. $100 is what a practice pass costs.
Walking on the Georgian grass, feeling the ground under you, understanding that so many greats have walked that grass before you. You're like, hey, Fred Couples probably was standing right there one time. Not a joke. I mean, it's incredible. Tempo.
Fred Couples, of all the people that have played at Augusta National,
I'm impressed. He went Fred Couples.
Fred Couples?
Yeah. Does that impress you a little bit?
Not Jack, not Arnie.
Not Stuart Sink.
Not Tiger.
No. Fred Couples.
Fred Couples.
My two favorite
Larry Mize.
My two favorite golfers were I always
Gigi
loved
Rodriguez.
I loved watching the older
Davis.
guys when they were golfing. Tom Watson and Fred Couples were my boys.
Shout out Tom Watson.
Wanted
Kansas
Tommy
City.
to win. Him and Angel Cabrera as well.
Not Baroa.
It was a great one. I still love seeing Sergio every year. Every year see Sergio. That's always great. Vijay Singh. Is he in the field this year?
I don't know.
Miss VJ.
How old is Sergio? You're grouping him with some older golfers. Sergio may be up there.
Sergio, I think, is like 52.
Oh,
damn.
Sergio Garcia is 45.
Oh,
not that bad.
That's not bad.
I was guessing he was like 50, 52. He's 45. Sergio's been around.
He's been a pro for a long time.
How old do you think Ernie Els is?
Oh, another good one.
Ernie Els is probably 58, 59.
62.
55.
Oh,
Okay.
damn. Should have said
One more
$1.
good one. Graham McDowell. How old do we think Graham McDowell is?
He's up there.
46.
45. Oh, I thought
Hey, congratulations. You win the birthday game.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be a little bit older. I miss old golfers. Old golfers that didn't win a ton of majors, but
Old
were
golfers that are in their 40s?
No, but I'm talking about
I
like,
miss
like
old
Ernie
people.
Els and all that. Like
Arnold.
Like I miss those guys who were like they were good. They were great. They weren't all timers, but they were just good names and they were always
Greg
around and they
Stadler.
were always
Are
competing.
you going to have a tough time today when you're thinking about Colin Montgomery? Should be at Augusta. I'd love to see him at Augusta.
No, yes, I am. I'm gonna have a very tough time.
I'd like to see Gary Player maybe
Yes.
play 18.
Yes.
Oh, I'd like to see Jack. I don't really want to talk about Xander Schauffele
No.
or Rory or
I don't
Tommy
want any of the new
Fleetwood or
guys.
John Rahm or Scotty Scheffler. I just want to talk about guys.
Paul Azinger.
You know
Yeah.
what? Bernhard Longer.
Yeah.
There you go.
wonder-
That's a great one.
I wonder if he can continue success on the senior tour. He's got the Masters taken care of.
The late, great
That's what I want.
Seve
Exactly.
Ballesteros.
O'Hara. Tom O'Hara. He comes back.
Mark O'Meara. Remember him?
What's going?
I wonder if Craig Stadler will be playing this year at
The
the
Masters is
Masters.
better. The Masters is better when like a 44-year-old wins it. Okay, I think it's just better when these older guys who
Our
you didn't think
demographic.
will win it just pulls out a win that you didn't see coming, and they did it all based on their head and not on their like incredible youth and athleticism. I would
Let me
love to
tell you
see.
about the
I would love to
86
see
Masters.
Justin Rose win the Masters this year. That would be nice. I don't think he's not going to do it, but I would love to see Justin Rose do it.
So while you'd like to see old golfers who are in their 40s,
Shout out Senior Tour.
you know what is wild? So as Scotty Scheffler tries to win again, Scotty Scheffler's 28 years old.
I know.
He's 28 years old. We're on a banger, though, of majors by Americans. What have we won? 7 in a row? Take that.
Yeah. Schauffele.
So you don't want to see Scheffler
DeChambeau,
win. You don't want to see
Scheffler.
Morikawa win.
No.
Because they're young guys.
No, I
Okay.
want to see like
Guys
an
who get
older
up 4
dude.
times to pee in the night.
Like I gotta go. You gotta go way down the list to like find someone who is here. What's the old? See Vijay Singh. He'll be playing.
Yeah.
What
Would you consider Phil Mickelson old?
Fred Couples will be playing long. Or Phil Mickelson. But
Be careful. Be careful.
in
Is
age,
Phil Mickelson an old guy according to you?
in old guy golf at this point, yes. In golf, he's an old guy golfer.
Okay,
He's
so
been doing it for 25 years now. He's been around the block in golf.
He's made a lot of money.
But he's still around.
On the
Like he's
course
still,
and off.
but he
he's
wants
still
Ben
com-
Crenshaw.
So he's
still
54.
He's still competitive. You
Nick
know?
Faldo.
But like if Bubba Watson won another Masters,
Okay,
this week, that would be awesome.
Because Bubba is old.
Just these guys who've been around
Mark
for a little
Calcavecchia,
longer, you know.
yeah.
So what about Rory? Rory's been around for a while. This will be his 11th
But
time
he's
at
still
Augusta.
he's still in his prime. He's still at the top of the leaderboard.
Okay.
I want like a middle to lower guy to win it, who you know their name and they've been around for a while, and they're like, you know,
Bryson DeChambeau.
they're turning back the
Tom
clock,
Kite.
if you will.
What about Hale Irwin? Lee Trevino?
Ian Woosnam.
That would work. I would take Lee Trevino.
Okay.
Bobby Jones comes back.
Ooh, any Bobby Jones, even the Sixers Bobby Jones.
That probably would be the most amazing thing Augusta National ever did.
Yeah.
What can't they do?
Crenshaw?
Take it.
Larry Mize.
What about Retief Goosen?
Oh, I like that one.
I'm out. I'm out of my knowledge of.
Well, you mentioned VJ. VJ's 62.
VJ's there.
Goosen is only 56. What? And did you mention Sandy Lyle?
I did not.
Or Gil Morgan?
I did not.
Okay. Steve Stricker. He's
Steve
not.
Stricker would be a good one.
He's under 60. All right. Maybe Ray Floyd. I mean, I'm trying to like it because I know you're gonna put these on the big board. I'm trying to guess of golfers that need a cart at Augusta.
Do you have Ben Hogan on your board?
The big board is going to be big this week. There's going to be a lot of.
Hence the
There's
name.
going to be a lot of.
I don't know who I'm not really sure on Matt's big board when it comes to the Masters. Who I'm going to bump? Sam Snead or Hubert Green? Well, I think
Did you say Hubert or Hugh Green? Because Hugh Green was pretty good too in his own.
I think life has bumped them off your big board.
Probably. Yeah, they have.
Wow.
I want an older golfer. I want an older guy.
Their definition of older is
We all have our
like,
things.
Like, okay, so the definition of old to you, how would you look at Coach Sampson? Is he like ancient?
No.
Like, do you ask him?
It's all relative.
Is Jurassic Park real because you lived back then?
Yeah. What was going to school
it's
with
all
Hubie Brown like?
So like an old coach, like I consider old for coaches is like 70. Okay. Once a coach gets to 70, I feel like that is the marker of like,
Except
all
Pete
right.
Carroll.
They're Pete Carroll's a great example. He's 72.
No, Pete Carroll's younger than all of
So
us.
Patino's 72.
Yeah. So he's an older coach for sure. I would say once you get to 70, that's coaches is there.
You should get out.
When you get, well, I mean, if you're still winning, you shouldn't get out. If you still love it, if you still can do it, you absolutely shouldn't stop.
Nobody knows what's going to happen to their 401k or Social Security. So I think you got to keep working, right?
But like an old basketball player is like 31 years old, 32 years old. Like that's crazy. An older golfer, I would say, is in their like 45 to 55 range. That's older in golf. So I would like to see one of the older golfers win. I think it would be a great story.
Shout out old people.
Shout out.
I like that.
But it's all relative.
Hey, way to go, Silver Sluggers.
Yeah.
This is your day.
He hadn't been to Bonefish yet, has he? Oh, you need to go to Bonefish.
I need to go to Bonefish.
Yeah.
Little young. They'd be like,
Content.
here's my grandson. Right there on Silver
He's
Slugger.
cute.
Silver Slugger hookup from 4 to 6 at Bonefish. Okay, so there's a lot of Creighton going on when it comes to football. And by the way, thank you, Nebraska. Theron Jones from Omaha North got an offer over the weekend. Smart offer. Probably going to be a little bit of a challenge. I think Iowa's in a good spot. But if he chooses to join his brother at Nebraska, that tells you a lot about the coaching staff in Lincoln. By the way, I'm happy for his dad. So his dad is the athletic director. DeAndre is the athletic director over at Omaha Benson. Loves to golf. When Donnie got his offer, it was after a camp, a workout down in Lincoln. He was on the golf course. When his son told him that he got his offer. And
awesome.
It was a great Friday for Omaha North. I teased this because I didn't want to ruin it for him. But now it is public, is that Omaha North is getting a football stadium right next to the high school that's going to open in 2027. One of the great people I've met in my time living in Omaha is the former principal at Omaha North, Gene Haynes. He is A+ human being for what he did with Omaha North, but he always talked about this vision, and he actually revealed some plans, I don't know, it's probably 8-9 years ago, about Omaha North, and they're a little limited on their space of building a high school football stadium because they share it with Omaha Northwest at Kinnick Stadium. But there's a lot of people that have a lot of interest in that community, in that part. Everybody says, well, 35th and Ames is ignored. There are people that want to help that area of North Omaha, and people that have money and people that can move buildings and can move red tape. And they came together, and that area, and I'm so happy because I love Omaha North High School. I think there are so many brilliant people that walk the hallways and teach in that school. And then they've got a wonderful football coach who, Larry Martin, is in it for the right reason. And I'm so happy for him that he's going to get an on-campus football stadium, that they're going to get a Y in that neighborhood, and that neighborhood is really going to start to be freshened up. But all you think about is Gene, and he gets this, and it's going to open up in 2027. Now, I'm telling you, it's going to be one of the safest places on Friday nights in Omaha, okay? They will not let anything happen in that neighborhood. But it now leaves, Creighton Prep, now that Burke will be back open, they'll be back at Burke. Someday, we think Prep will have their own on-camp where they could expand their current football stadium and play varsity games there on the reg. And then the Elkhorn schools. So it's going to be so cool that Omaha North is going to be able to play right there on campus. I was so excited when I heard that news a couple weeks ago, and it was great to see it unveiled. But it was a good day. Friday was a good day for North, for the community, for the high school. And then a guy who I think his stock is going to go through the roof. Mm-hmm. I think he's better than his brother, who may be one of the starting cornerbacks at Nebraska.
No, I mean, I know that reading up on it and just around the community, there's a lot of questions of why hasn't Darian Jones got an offer yet, right? And that was one of the things that people were waiting to happen, and talking to you about it. I know how highly you think of him as a football player, and it's still important just from a macro view of, yes, the 105 is there. And yes, you're going to have to be very strategic on who you give offers to, who you're recruiting. And it's just, you kind of know that the collateral of the 105 is going to come from not having walk-ons and in-state walk-ons and having more Nebraska high school players on this, on the Nebraska football team. And so despite that, you hope that Nebraska football still continues to offer and invest in Nebraska high school football, because that still matters and that always will matter. And Darian Jones getting an offer is a great indication that is, still something that they are invested in, because, this 105, you got to be very, very cautious. And you just hope that doesn't mean you're completely pulling out of investing a lot into Nebraska high school football.
But isn't the whole goal to get the best players, whether they're in-state or not?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. And you have to get the top talent. But there still needs to be a balance. You still need to go and get some in-state guys. That's still something that matters to this fan base. It's still something that matters to the tradition of Nebraska. And I still think that when it comes to the top talent in the state, you hope that Nebraska football continues to have eyes on them and that they don't completely abandon that.
There's idiots out walking around over in Iowa. First of all,
wait, I see what you did there.
Price Sanford is getting a lot of hate
from Iowa?
From Iowa fans for not coming back to Iowa and going to Nebraska. Now, if his brother, so his dad is from Holdridge, as our emailer brought up last week. So his dad is from Holdridge, and the family lives in Waukee, which is a bursting suburb of Des Moines. When I was in high school at Urbandale, Waukee was just like, meh. Mm-hmm. Now Waukee is like, it's like a bona fide suburb. Mm. So I don't know that and Nebraska recruited him pretty heavily.
Oh yeah.
If his brother is not at Iowa, he probably comes to Nebraska. So he leaves Iowa and he's at Nebraska, and he referenced it a little bit that he's gotten some hate from Iowa fans. So we like this rivalry. I can't wait for when they play. I think Creighton and Iowa should play this upcoming season as well. But you remember when Keith Duncan hit the game-winning field goal at Memorial Stadium and blew kisses to the Nebraska fans? He got a Pancheros commercial out of it, and he blew kisses during the commercial. Well, remember what happened this past season in Iowa City?
Iowa beat Nebraska.
Game-winning field goal. Drew Stevens. So I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I was on the interwebs, and there was a picture from the Iowa weight room. The picture of Stevens kicking the ball to beat Nebraska is displayed rather largely in Iowa's weight room.
I like that. I like it. I like the pettiness. Do you know what would be even better? If there was a big picture of Nebraska, the Nebraska captains not shaking the hands of the Iowa captains up in the weight room.
Where would you put that at? Would you put that in Lincoln or would you put that in Iowa City?
Oh, I'd put it in Iowa City. I would put that in, I would think Iowa City would be like, look, remember, never forget they didn't shake your hands at the logo for the coin toss. It's the worst thing that's ever happened. We're shown a disrespect in Iowa City. Never forget it, boys. Even though you won the game, never forget it.
That was so stupid. That whole thing that was idiotic.
They got to shake. No sportsmanship in Lincoln, Gary. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. You have to shake the hands of every opponent.
So if you're taking a tour of the Iowa weight room, the Drew Stevens game-winning field goal is prominently displayed.
I love pettiness. I love it. I'm a big fan of it. I think that pettiness fuels rivalries. I think rivalries fuel sports. I hope that when Nebraska beats Iowa, or if Nebraska beats Iowa very soon, that they put a big picture of something like that in their weight room.
Should there be a picture in Nebraska's weight room of Dante Dowdell running over Shiloh?
Yes.
Or Shadur walking off the field to the locker room?
Or they should, isn't there a picture of Shadur throwing the ball and Tommy Hill subsequently picking it off and running it into the end zone? They should get that pick. Put that up in the weight room.
I don't know. Are they all in on Tommy Hill and Lincoln anymore?
Probably not. Probably not. He's got to get drafted, though. So when he gets drafted, they'll claim him. They will. They'll claim him. They'll be like, hey, he was a transfer portal guy from Alabama, and we helped develop him into a draft pick.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about tonight, the final college basketball game, Florida and Houston, with Mr. Big Board over there. The best bet for tonight between what should be a great game of two teams that'll wear shoulder pads tonight. Physicality.
It will be a brawl, a bare-knuckle brawl tonight.
All right, we'll do that when we come back. Evan Bland coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Some Nebraska baseball, and we'll talk some Nebraska football as the CEO position in Lincoln is thriving.
Yes.
With the head football coach. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Yeah, this basketball season with your favorite stars score buckets. We're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog, where you can win up to 1,000 times your money. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. You can create entries with all basketball picks. Yes, the college basketball may end tonight, but the NBA is entering its final season, or you can mix and match across the other sports. You already heard me talk about baseball, and you could get in on some hockey, too. Those playoffs are just starting, and you could have made some money with Alex Ovechkin yesterday. All right. This week on Underdog, though, I'm at the final week of the NBA season. Where does it go? This is a time to really pick up on some hires, because you're going to get some wild scores as we continue to get closer and closer to the playoffs, which start a week from this weekend. All right, download the Underdog app and sign up now using promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in all the fun when you sign up with promo code ZONE and claim your special offer today. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates, like Nebraska. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Jimmy.
Yes, Gary.
As I was watching the Final Four at the Alamo Dome, which kind of shows its age, but San
it's old.
Antonio is a big event city. Is it okay?
I heard it was in the 90s on Friday. Had boots on the ground there.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Is it okay to call it San Antone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what George Strait calls it.
All right,
And if George Strait called it poop, you call it poop.
You have to ask a local if it's okay to say San Antone, because there's a lot of people that say San Antone. They don't say San Antonio, they say San Antone.
Oh, yeah.
They say them big women eating churros, which Barkley says.
Which I still don't know where these churros are at. He's not wrong, though.
It was funny.
I think I've met many women that like churros. They could be small, they could be big, they could be medium.
Yeah, especially if you have a good metabolism.
Why does it have to be big women like churros? I think we can all like churros.
I think it's just called a stereotype.
It is.
It's called carbs.
Absolutely
Lots
disgusting.
of carbs.
Well, but
no, trust me, I can say that. Look at my senior class
There's a difference between carbs and desserts, in my opinion. Okay, because when I have a cookie, I'm not eating. You can't tell me I'm eating.
Shout out
carbs.
insulin.
I'm having a dessert. Like I'm meant to be unhealthy there. Like I know I'm actively being unhealthy. I know that this is not
It's a
good
great
for
city
me,
to
but
be
I
unhealthy.
want to have a treat, so I'm going to eat a dessert. But if you are like, if you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're always having bread with that, you're always putting the, just having bread with everything. That's carbs. Like that's getting you to gain a lot of weight. But
Tortillas
if you
are
just
carbs,
have a
too.
cookie, or you just have a churro every once in a while, that's not bad. You don't have to be big. You're just enjoying dessert.
See, the problem, Matt, is that when it came to sweets, I didn't have one. There's a whole big bakery of things, and it smells good, and it's everywhere.
Very little
moderation.
Very little pictures of the Riverwalk. I know that it's not near the Alamo Dome. They didn't show much of like downtown San Antone.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of those like pan out shots or like the skyline shots, or they didn't do the like at the Alamo, like of
Never
the
seen that
actual,
one
like,
before.
area.
So tonight is the championship game. You'll hear it right here on the Zone. It's 7:50 Central Time.
Yes.
So as people don't want to stay up late anymore, I'm getting that.
Yeah.
I like staying up late, regardless if we have to be in at 6.
Sure.
People are excited about the 7:50 start. Okay. So we'll be, I think 7 o'clock coverage starts right here on the Zone, Westwood 1, with 2 Lincolnites who now live in Omaha. Of course, Kevin Kugler. And I'm so happy for Nick.
2 Zone guys.
So, yes, 2 Zone alums. Nick Baugh is like a kid in a candy store at the Final Four, and I'm so happy for him. So you'll hear them tonight. Coverage begins at 7. Tip-off is 7:50 for Florida and Houston. One other observation from the coverage of CBS the other day.
Yep.
And I love Ian Eagle. There is nobody that can pull off a Mission Impossible read like Ian Eagle. Now, you could say Kevin Harlan, but that's not true.
Sure.
Ian Eagle is built for reading a Mission Impossible movie preview.
Okay.
What is because he showed up on the set with Kenny, Barkley, Clark, and Jay Wright, and Ernie. What is a bigger upset? Magic Johnson beating AIDS or Holyfield beating Tyson?
Holyfield beating Tyson.
I have a
Holyfield.
Think about
I
this.
won't say it.
1991.
I'll
Magic
just say
Johnson,
Magic. Trust
Magic
me.
Johnson had a death sentence, and now we are in 2025.
But did you see Tyson in his prime and what Holyfield
Did you
was
see
going
AIDS
up
in its
against?
prime?
Did you?
I mean, Tyson. But that's I'm talking about the most. I'm talking about the most dangerous man probably ever to ever exist was Mike Tyson in his prime. I know that AIDS is one hell of a disease.
A right hand compared to a disease.
Yes.
This is our comparison. Yeah.
I mean,
but Magic Johnson, every time I see him, and he's thriving, and he's a businessman, and he's a great tweeter.
Yeah, and
he's
a good owner.
He's on the set, and he's smiling and yucking it up, and I'm like, damn, that guy. I paused what I was doing in 1991 to watch a press conference where I thought Magic Johnson was going to die. That's 1991. We're in 2025. Do the math. That's 34 years. Magic Johnson beat AIDS, HIV, and is still with us. That's pretty damn incredible.
I've told you this before, Gary, in the past, and
Is this
usually
going to be a revelation?
No.
Did you have AIDS before?
No,
Okay.
no, but my uncle died of it in
Just check.
92.
Oh.
Yeah. So when,
Jesus, Jimmy.
Well, I told you, I've told you this before. But my point
Have
is,
you?
I have, not on the air. So the point is, I tried to brace you, and you walked right into it. But
we had a very emotional private combo about how my cousin died of AIDS.
Yeah, he withered
and you
away and
forgot
died.
about
Yes,
it.
correct. Well, it's been a few years. My point.
What'd you do? Slip that in there? Like Drew Stevens hits a field goal and you're like, hey, it could be worse. My uncle died of AIDS.
Could be worse. So I have firsthand knowledge between Mike Tyson and what AIDS can do because I've seen it. Point is, when Magic got diagnosed, my grandmother was sobbing in the other room. She loved basketball. She loved Magic.
Yeah.
Loved watching it. But by that point, my uncle was already he was frail. He was dying. And so we all thought, oh no, this is going to be Magic in a few years. Well, a few years ago, because she's since gone too, but she would always smile when Magic would come on because he wasn't supposed to beat it. And there he is. So,
okay.
So yeah. So every time I see him, I'm just like, hell yes.
That's a sweet story. It's a sweet
I was
story.
getting to it.
That took one hell of a turn.
All right.
One hell of a subject.
Let's turn to this. So Big Board had a good weekend.
Great weekend, 4-2. I told you I should have gone with Ovi plus 2 goals, 2 or more goals.
Hey, I thought he was going to do it on Friday night against the Blackhawks.
I wish he did it at home. I'm kind of glad though he didn't do it against my team. You know, like I'm just one of those guys where I don't want them to. I don't like it when teams break records and celebrate these big deals on against my team. Like I'm glad it didn't happen to the Hawks. You know,
age 39, 42 goals in 61 games, and remember, Ovi usually goes with a flurry. So now that he's gotten the record, I expect like a big week of goals for him.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the best bet for tonight's championship? Florida -1.5, Houston +1.5. I know it's getting sad because we will not have college basketball for 7 months after tonight. Over 140.5 or under 140.5. What is the best bet for tonight's national championship game between the Florida Gators, who the SEC hasn't won a championship since 12 Kentucky, or the Houston Cougars and the Big 12, which hasn't won since KU cut down the nets in 22?
So I like the over at 140.5. And I think when I think about betting overs, you have to think about the results of the game, right? So how is the game going to
usually factors in?
How is the game going to be played?
Thank you.
And what would have to happen in order for the over to be hit, right?
Thank you, Feiner.
No, I know.
Should I write this down?
If the over is going to hit, it's probably going to be a Florida win because Florida's going to be able to push the pace. They're not going to allow Houston to slow down, get in their defensive sets, and really try and be physical with them. At the same time, I think that there are going to be a lot of offensive rebounds. I think there's going to be a lot of battle on the boards. These are two teams that can assert their dominance within the paint, but at the same time, look at how these two teams have played in crunch time, right? You have Walter Creighton, who has been able to score flurries of points at the end of the game, and you have a Houston team who did a backdoor cover on the over last game against Duke because they know how to extend games so well. So I think because you have high-level shooting, a lot of shots will happen in the paint, and I think that Florida being the favorite, them being able to push the pace and score a lot of points, I think that 70-70, right, 72-70, that's a reasonable score, and that would cover the over. So I would take 140. I think that's a really good number. That's my play, over. I also do like Houston +1.5. It just, when you're giving me plus money or plus points or anything plus when it comes to just Houston, I think that's just your best value. That is just a value bet in general because they're so damn good. But I am going to go to Warhorse and place my master's bets. I will be hitting over 140.
How come you don't take care of our people in Council Bluffs?
Oh, it's just 17 minutes away.
The Council Bluffs closer to your house.
But from work, and just go right over. I got it memorized.
Trying to show some love to our friends.
Or I'll go there too.
Should be a great game. 35 of the last 36 combined, Florida and Houston this season, they've won. That seems to be a pretty good number. Again, 7:50 tip-off tonight. You'll hear it here on the Zone. It is the Final Four that we deserved and we got. And
I know. Wait, I thought they're canceling the tournament. This is what everyone told me.
I did too. You know what? You're not canceling college basketball. I actually think college basketball is about to just take another jump. The stuff is kind of, but the product on the floor got a chance to be a banger with the brands. All right, 2 in the books, 2 to go. Evan Bland will join us coming up at the bottom of the hour on 1620 The Zone. All right, coming up in 90 minutes down on the hilltop, Kirsten Bernthal Booth press conference in a just weird 7 o'clock Sunday night tweet and release. A lifer for she is Creighton Volleyball. Coach Booth is stepping down. Did not say retirement. We'll see if we get an inkling of what is next for her, but maybe we get an inkling of what is next for Creighton Volleyball. Brian Rosen has taken over, and it should be an easy transition because of his familiarity with the program and what it means to get the program and keep the program at that level. Just seems very odd. Things are not lining up, so we'll see what the tone is like of the presser that we'll carry coming up at 9:30. Evan Bland will join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Nebraska baseball won 2 of 3 against Rutgers.
Chipping away.
Omaha won 2 of 3 against North Dakota State. Creighton won 2 of 3 against UConn. So it was a 2 of 3 weekend for all three that were home, and the weather did not play well, except for yesterday was okay.
No, it's good for look. Nebraska baseball now 14th in the Big Ten. They need to string together a couple of wins in order to even get into the Big Ten conference tournament, and you're getting to the point where every series is the most important series, and you got to be grabbing at least one game. But and I think it might be too high of an expectation to say, oh, they need to win every single series here on out. But I mean, they cannot afford to get swept at all the rest of the year. They got to keep chipping away and just get to the Big Ten conference tournament. Okay, I don't think Nebraska sport fans can take both Nebraska basketball and Nebraska baseball not making the Big Ten conference tournament this year. So just chip away.
We'll always have
do
the
that.
crown. We'll always have the crown. We cannot take the crown away from Nebraska.
No, you cannot.
And we should have fun with the crown.
Where they
we should enjoy the crown.
Where do you think they're going to display the crown trophy? Where do you think they're going to put it? Put it in PBA?
They've got no
72nd and Dodge was bumping last night.
So they
saw
have
the tweets.
They have that display case over in the Hendricks, over in the Devaney Center.
Oh, okay.
So I imagine it'll go in there. But they'll put a banner up. They should put a banner up. They put a banner up when they won the NIT. They'll put a banner up for a crown.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a postseason tournament. It is something to it is an actual accomplishment. You were a champion. You ended your season on a win. It is something that, I think that because it's new and it's a novelty, people might chuckle at it now. But hell, if the crown ends up being a, 10, 15 year type deal and it becomes a mainstay in college basketball, it's not a terrible thing.
It's like Oregon in 1939.
Stop. No, I'd rather go to the NCAA tournament and lose a game than go and spend a week in Vegas.
I saw that whole exchange.
Absolutely. I'm not defending the crown, and I'm not saying that it's a greater accomplishment to go to the NCAA tournament. I'm not saying any of that. But they want a postseason tournament. They got an NIT thing up. They should put the crown
the
up
NCAA tournament is the goal, and it is the only goal in the 25-26 season. There is no other discussion.
No.
You have to be in the NCAA tournament, or you're going to have to make a change. But it can't be just get to the tournament. It has to – let's get to the tournament and win a game. So we got 7 months after today, after Jim Nance tears up again, and Houston cuts down the nets tonight, or Florida cuts down the nets, because I could go either way here. Now, selfishly, in my bracket, which I'm 297,000 in ESPN, and
just say your percentile. Just say I'm the
98.7%.
There you go.
I have the 2 finalists. It could go either way, but I would like Florida to win. But Jim Nance, you saw him there on Saturday supporting Houston.
At good seats.
He'll be there again tonight.
Good for him.
So he's done this before. Remember, he used to broadcast the Final Four.
Oh,
and then he would leave on Tuesday morning or Monday night after the game, after he gives out his tie, and then he would fly to Augusta. So no worries that he's going to make it to Augusta.
Oh, yeah.
But him tearing up as Houston won, will he just be a puddle tonight if Houston wins the national championship?
Absolutely.
And
I love that.
And I'm okay with it.
Me too. I think
I like a happy
fan.
There's sometimes, as a fan, or your alma mater, where they win something and you tear up. I have teared up most recently twice of my teams winning something. So before I smoked a whole humidor and drank a local establishment in Exarban Village out of alcohol, I cried when the Cubs won the World Series.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, and I tried to hold it in when Omaha won in Sioux Falls against St. Thomas.
Wow.
I got a little teary-eyed and the voice cracked a little bit,
That's
but I
awesome.
was able to hold it together.
I get that.
Not everybody cries after a victory. So, people are kind of taking shots at Jim Nantz. It's his alma mater. He's very passionate about it.
Why can't he have fun?
I'm okay with it. But you don't see a lot of people that cry after a victory. But I imagine if they win tonight, Jesus, him and Akeem Olajuwon.
Well, if Akeem can even get on the floor.
Yeah, which is weird that you would not recognize Akeem Olajuwon.
Oh, trust me, in that building.
But that's true. But
Great
most
point.
people that do top 10 NBA lists, they don't recognize him anyhow.
I do.
I think he will be. I think
should
the
be.
tears will be flowing, and it's okay to have emotion when it comes to sports.
Especially college sports. I've always thought that because there's a difference, okay? Right? Like you were born in a city, right? And
Many
you
people
adopt
have.
those teams and those become your professional teams or whatever. But you pick the school, right? You decide, hey, I want to go to this school, and you are on the campus and you get to know, sometimes you get to know the athletes and you get to know people and you meet your best friends. You really create like true memories from that choice when you are rooting for your college team, when you're rooting for your alma mater, which is why I think it is so appropriate because like I didn't go to, Chicago Bears University, right? I've never been on Hallis Hall. I don't know anybody.
They would be 2-10.
Like I haven't met anybody because of the Bears. The Bears haven't necessarily changed my life. I haven't.
Hey, Dan Hampton.
I don't have any like awesome memories of like hanging out at Soldier Field with a couple of buddies and like, going to class or anything like that. Like I have all of that in my college. And so when you create those memories and you create that connection, that's why we love college sports, because it's just different. It's a different connection you have with your teams. So when you like crying for pro teams, like I think there's some context. Like I think like what's the context here? Like I cried for the Chicago Cubs when they won the World Series because they hadn't done it.
The Chicago
before,
Cubs
right?
won the World Series.
What were you, 8?
No, I was 15. I was 15 years old. I did cry for, but at the same time, my other teams have won championships. I haven't cried for them. But like, when you have a connection with the college, I think it's super, super appropriate to get emotional. Like
I know a lot of people that cried in '94. One that I bet there were not many people that cried, but people are like, yeah, F you. We're back, baby. You ain't screwing with us, is the 95 championship.
Yeah.
That team was so good that you're like, you know what? I can just be obnoxious. A lot of people in 94 cried.
Well, I think when you win
Probably
your first one.
And then in 97, because that was T.O.'s last one.
But like for the Kansas City Chiefs, like I'm sure you got really emotional for the first one, but you weren't nearly as emotional.
That's a
for
good
the
question.
third
I'm
one.
curious based on your story.
No, you know what? When they beat the Niners, I was almost surprised.
Okay.
I was fully invested, but yeah, I never thought about never tears. But the Cubs are my original sports team that I like when I was 5 or 6 because they were on TV all the time. So the Cubs have been my team for the longest time.
Yeah, when the Bears win the Super Bowl, that'll probably be my next teary-eyed moment.
You said you've had a lot of teams win championships, like
it's Dynasty, 3 Cups, 5 years, 2010, 2013,
gotcha.
2015. Like I didn't cry for 10. 2013 was like my we're damn good because that team was incredible that year. And then 15 was a little emotional because like that team had fought so hard to get to that point. But no, only the Cubs. It's only the Cubs. 2016 is that's the only like sport moment I had like legitimate tears in my eyes for. But like I think that's pro. When it comes to college and your team, because it's so hard to win a college national championship, I would never judge anybody for getting emotional or having those tears.
Hey, Gino got emotional yesterday.
Yeah.
It's incredible what Jim Calhoun and Gino Oriema did in Storrs, Connecticut, which basically was a farmland, to put banners up in the pavilion. Do you know that UConn men and women in the last 30 years have combined for 18 titles? And they are 18-1 in title games. So Gino wins his 12th yesterday, and he got very teary-eyed. And I don't think it was necessarily, we haven't won it in 9 years, now we're back. A little bit of that, but also that Paige Beckers finally got one.
Yeah. No, I think we saw in her last game, he got emotional at the podium as well because, he cares about her so much and loves her so much. But like she is, man, the first, there's always been high school mixtapes, right? You've always seen the famous high school mixtapes on YouTubes of guys and their really cool moves. But like the first ever for me, like men's high school social media athlete, like there's a difference.
Yeah.
Social media athlete was Lonzo Ball and that Chino Hills basketball team, right? And I think people have a different connection with Lonzo Ball and LaMelo Ball and LiAngelo Ball because you basically saw them grow up because they were so plastered everywhere on social media. I think Paige Beckers is similar because she, to me, was the first true social media women's basketball, star. Like people knew about her in high school. She had an awesome high school mixtape. When she committed to UConn, it was a really big deal. And then, she had to battle through injuries and you were kind of like, she's been marketed as, oh my God, she's incredible. She's incredible. In the last 2 years, you've kind of been like waiting for it because she's been hurt and you haven't been able to see her really grow in that. These last 2 seasons and how incredible she's been and now winning a national title, it's exactly what you expected of her when she went to UConn, which is incredible to reach, those high expectations. But at the same time, it's incredible for women's basketball because Caitlin Clark is the superstar. But you need...
Ooh, don't say that out loud.
No, she is.
You're going to have people coming at you.
No, she is the superstar. But you need someone else. You need someone else right there. And I think that, look, I know a lot of people would say Angel Reese. Angel Reese is a fine basketball player, but Paige Beckers, the way that she plays is more exciting. Like, you would rather watch Paige Beckers at the top of her game as opposed to a post player. And so I think that her rise in the WNBA and her rise in women's basketball is only going to make what Caitlin Clark will do.
She won't touch Caitlin Clark.
No, but you do need someone else. You do need another person there. I agree. Like, I'm not saying that she's going to be Caitlin Clark, but you do need a hey, here's Caitlin and hey, here's someone else where you're like, it's kind of cool to be like, oh, I want to root for Paige, or Paige is the underdog. Caitlin's better than Paige. Everybody says Caitlin's better than Paige. I want Paige to beat Caitlin so she can prove that she can, she's better than her, stuff like that. Like, I think you kind of need that dynamic and that other person to like root for because not everybody loves just that one singular player, right? Like, you have your LeBron, but Carmelo was pretty important. Like, people loved Carmelo. Like, you need that in women's basketball. At least this new era.
You got Juju.
Juju's great too. When Juju goes to the WNBA, it'll be incredible for them as well.
How was UConn ever a 2 seed? They obliterated a dynasty yesterday. That was an ass kicking. I mean,
wasn't even.
And then, oh, by the way, then you're talking about handing off the baton. Sarah Strong is a freshman. All right, she's a freshman. But the one thing about women's athletes is they grow the young people more than the male athlete. Because look at, they're panning the crowd. And if you've seen UConn ever play here in Omaha against Creighton, there's a lot of young girls who are wearing 5 jerseys, or they have the braids that she wears in her hair.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like they scanned the crowd last night. That's something that women's basketball has going for it with the Caitlin Clarks and the Paige Beckers is they are attracting the young fan. And I'm not talking like the teenage fan. I'm talking like the 8 to 10-year-old boys and girls that are wearing the jerseys that, like you see all the TikTok videos of young girls meeting Paige Beckers and they immediately break into tears. Like, you just don't, you used to see that all the time.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen that emotion out of like a young fan in a long time. Like it's so sporadic. It used to be when I was that age, it was like a big deal. You'd see these videos all the time shared of meeting like your hero and you would break into tears. Now you see that a lot more with like a lot of the female athletes. And I don't know, maybe it's because, UConn's in the Final Four and won the national championship, but I'm seeing on TikTok, like a lot of people are sharing like meeting Paige Beckers outside of the hotel in Tampa or when they're going to the airport in Connecticut or whatever. And you see it here. And kudos to them. Like kudos to especially the in-state female student athletes and then like a Paige Beckers who, by the way, her thanking the strength and conditioning nutritionist, all the other like people that don't ever get mentioned at UConn, and then the practice players and the managers, mad respect to you. But she just is like, she respects the game and she's a good person. And I think that goes a long way in growing that sport. But as I noticed when they played at CHI this year, she signs for everybody.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
she stood there. You know, Caitlin Clark was so overwhelmed that she would sign, but it was almost too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like Paige Becker's here in Omaha. She stood and signed, I bet, for 30 minutes after that game. I mean, like everybody that wanted an autograph, I think got a Paige Becker's autograph.
It's great when you have a superstar who's great at the game that you're watching, right? And you love to watch them. It's even better when they're an ambassador of the game, when they're like actually a good human, like Cooper Flagg. Like that's another guy where I'm sure the NBA is very happy that they're getting not only a young man that's that talented, but that has a head on his shoulders like that, where you don't necessarily have to
Great
worry.
addition to our city in San Antonio.
Yeah. Oh man. I'll say this right now.
He'll be in Charlotte. Charlotte will get the number 1 pick. They will draft him, then they will trade Ball.
No. The only
good,
reason I would want him to go to Charlotte is to see him play with LaMelo Ball. That's why Adam Silver would rig the lottery, because he would want to see those two guys play. I think he would have to go to Charlotte and be like, hey, if we're going to give you this ping pong ball, you got to promise me you don't trade LaMelo.
Cooper Flagg, man, he could have been the best one-and-done guy of all time, but that will remain Anthony Davis.
Yep.
Well, that's the last time the SEC won a title.
I think
best one-and-done guy in the history of college basketball since it's been one-and-done. When Melo had his run as a freshman, it was not a one-and-done era.
What does that mean? It wasn't a one-and-done era.
Means he needed Jerry McNamara. Not really. I just had to throw that out there.
Like
still bitter.
Like it doesn't count because it wasn't a common thing. Or
well, there was no restriction on when you could go to the NBA.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, he could have gone straight out of high school. Is what you're saying? Oh, yeah. In that regard, you have to start it there, and then it comes through there. I understand what you're saying there. I just think that, like, he's so good, and he's going to be so valuable to the league. There's just no way you can allow him to go to a small market. Like, you just cannot let it happen. You cannot let this guy end up in a place where nobody wants to watch that team play. You have to put him in a market where you can consistently put them on national TV.
Did he single-handedly kill the Ignite team in the G League?
Yes.
Because he got more marketing by going to college for 1 year. Granted, it was Duke. Than he would have ever gotten playing for the Ignite or whatever it's still called these days.
They don't. So Montes Pizzelis got drafted by like the Bulls. Like you have to go on like YouTube and look up like his highlights and stuff like that in order to see like what type of prospect you have. Or like you go through these NBA mock drafts and you see Ignite G League and you're like, I have no idea who this dude is. I think the Ignite was a good initial idea in terms of like when it first started. Hey, you get to have money. Hey, you get to be a professional. But now that the NIL era exists and you can make so much money and get even more national TV attention, you're absolutely right.
Watch a G League.
Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, Kevin Durant, Zion. The 4 best one-and-done guys in my book.
I would have to think more about it, but I wouldn't put Zion in there just because he didn't win a national championship.
But college basketball, Cooper Flagg didn't.
Durant didn't.
Kevin Durant didn't. College basketball is one of the rare sports where your legacy is not dictated by rings.
Yeah.
Think about it. We'll talk to Evan Bland before this hour is over and try and figure out on our stream today what the Creighton and Nebraska are fighting today on the stream. Hello, Captain. Hello, Jimmy.
It has been going on for an hour and a half.
It's been going on for years.
I mean, it is.
That's the great thing about when you win a crown, people get jealous. On 1620 The Zone. All right, for all the rainmen out there, I got a little nugget for you. You ready?
Give it to me. Love your nuggets.
So with Florida and Houston playing tonight in the national championship game, do you know that in 2000, the year 2000, remember what you were doing in the year 2000? You survived Y2K?
Yeah, 11th grade.
I wasn't alive.
Still hate math.
Do you know that there were 3 incredible coaches coaching in the state of Oklahoma in the year 2000?
Yep. Kelvin Sampson, Bill Self, Eddie Sutton.
Yep. How about on the red dirt? You had those 3 coaches that were at Bill Self was at Tulsa, Eddie Sutton was at Oklahoma State,
Took Tulsa.
and Kelvin
in 08.
Sampson was at OU. That was in 2000. They were all in the same state coaching.
That's crazy.
What a time.
But back to something I brought up about Cooper Flagg. And there are very few weaknesses in Cooper Flagg's game. I wish Kahn and Flagg, they would have. John Shire was Ryan Day on Saturday night. He had a chance to be the current day Ryan Day with a national championship. Or you go, man, that guy woke up on third base because at the end of the game, he did not help his team and he got out-coached. And every time in close games, which Duke was not very good in this year. By the way, they were only 5-4 against teams that were in the top 25 of the Ken Palm. And in close games, the record was not good. They don't play a lot of them, so that's sure they're good. But when they do, you got some young guys that are like, oh boy, what are we doing here? And John Shire did not help them. So he got completely out-coached late in that game. So he is the old Ryan Day. He woke up and he's still on third base. And I don't know how long that loss sticks with you. It won't define him. I like him, but he had a chance to help his team when he felt it slipping away. And I don't think he did help them at the end. And there were a multitude of things, a foul or no foul, not getting a defensive rebound in the last 3:04, only 1 field goal in the last 10 minutes. But back to Flagg. So I would have liked to see, and it's a make or miss sport. They got a good look. Flagg just didn't hit the shot. I would have liked to see either him or Kahn going downhill. Instead of, because Duke this year in close games, they've run basically the same play with an ISO for Flagg. I would have liked something different. But in Flagg, who had an incredible season, okay? He had one of the best freshman seasons of all time, one and done. He's going to be in the NBA. I was thinking about this the other night because the conversation revolves around Kelvin Sampson, who's 69 years old, has had an incredible coaching journey, some good, some bad, but the only thing missing is a national title. But if you make a list of the best college basketball coaches, Kelvin Sampson's probably going to be in the top 5.
Yeah, easily.
But to be in the top 5 in college football, you normally have to have a championship. Now, we only have 3 guys that coach in college football that have a title: Kirby, Ryan Day, and Dabo Swinney. So there are 2 spots open, but most lists will have those 3 in your top 5.
Yeah.
In college football, you got to get a ring. We're in a ring society still in college football. It's weird in college basketball when it comes to players or coaches. That's not necessarily the case. Because would you still have, if Scott Drew did not have a title, would Scott Drew be a top 5 coach?
If he didn't have a title?
If he didn't have a title, would Scott Drew be a top 5 coach?
No.
Okay.
No. But I do think the NCAA tournament and the chaos that it causes does make for weird ranking systems in terms of relative success, because it's almost as if getting to a Final Four in itself is winning a national championship, that is such an incredible accomplishment that we put that, the headline of a resume is how many championships do you have? Yep. What's the second thing that we write? How many Final Fours did you make? You don't really see that in college football, right? It is, well, how many championships do you have? And then it's probably, do you have a conference championship? Right? Or do you have, or like what big bowl have you won a Rose Bowl, or like what big bowl games have you won? But with college basketball, if you get to a lot of Sweet 16s or a lot of Elite Eights or 3 or 4 Final Fours, you could not win a title and easily be considered, hey, you're one of the better coaches in the sport. I mean, look at a guy like Kevin Willard, right? Kevin Willard got a job at Villanova, was their guy. They went out, they invested a lot of money in him. He just made his first Sweet 16. So even just like making the tournament consistently and just always being in the field of 64 and having good regular seasons gets you to the point where, hey, you're really, really good coach.
I don't know. I put Kevin Willard in the top
No,
25.
no.
Like Tom Izzo. Like if Tom Izzo had
Sure.
the resume that he has at Michigan State,
Yes, he still would
one
be.
title, but it was 25 years ago. But he's still coaching, and now let's say he's over on college football with that resume. Would he be a top 5 coach? It's just college basketball is one of the rare sports
right now
that we don't talk about rings and things.
Tom, here's
which is a really good restaurant, by the way.
Yeah, I've been there. It's very nice.
That's a great comparison, Gary, because Tom Izzo is considered to be one of the greatest head coaches of all time in college basketball. Not just top 5 right now, all time, period, end of story. If you were not to have him in your top 10 coaches of all time, there would be some people with some real question marks, right? I don't think one title in college football would get you there. Into what his resume would be in college football.
And it was 25 years
25
ago.
years, one national title. I don't think he would be looked at as one of the greatest of all time in that sport. But in basketball, he's easily considered one of the greatest of all time. But I think it just really comes down to, though, the playoff system and the tournament and the fact that it is just so crazy and it is anything can happen and it is these singular games that are occurring. But I just think that with it's just interesting how we view different coaches based on it's all about titles. It's all about titles. I mean, Ryan Day did an incredible job with Ohio State, won a national title, and there still are if he doesn't win. Let's do this in relative success, right? If Calvin Sampson doesn't win tonight, right, you're still going to view him as one of the best coaches.
He's still one of the top 3 college basketball coaches, in my opinion.
And you're going to say that they had an incredible season, and they're going to say he made a Final Four, and look at what he built at Houston. If Ryan Day didn't beat Notre Dame and win a national title, there would be people still questioning the validity of whether or not he's one of the best coaches in college football. I mean, that's just the stark difference in how we compare those two professions.
Yeah, I mean, probably most polls in college football with Ryan Day, he went from 5th best coach in college football to right behind Kirby.
Yeah, off of one game. But at this point,
one game, one championship.
Yes.
Then you go, okay, I guess 70-10 and 46-5 in the Big Ten is a pretty good mark. In 6 years, you've never finished outside of the top 10.
Winning that title made you accept all the incredible other things that he's accomplished up to that point, which is kind of ridiculous to think about.
All right, coming up next, Evan Bland will join us from the World Herald. Talk some football and some baseball on 1620 The Zone. All right, our next guest put in a play for the headline on the front page of the World Herald this morning, the crowning achievement. Did not get selected. I saw the Hartford paper has the final page is their headline with UConn women winning yesterday. That's a great
That is a
headline.
great headline.
We welcome in the aforementioned Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Let's start with some football because we had an eye roll moment, but not so fast. You remember back to Indy last year, Matt Rule said he really liked this team, thinks this team's going to be good. At that moment, we went, okay, you piqued my interest. And then we roll our eyes when Stuffer said along the way. He said that again on Saturday, and I know that people would roll their eyes and say, hey, show me on the field in 138 days or how many days it is. But when he said it on Saturday, it almost felt like to me there was a different conviction in his voice on what he's seeing for him to say that out loud. Did you have any takeaway from him saying, I really like this team, and kind of the calmer, more confident Matt Rule we've seen this spring?
Yeah, I think the the word calm came to mind for me too, because he also said this was sort of a serene spring. It was a spring where he didn't have to set the tone on things, and a spring where the guys knew what to expect and how the field was supposed to be, and he did feel a little bit more just relaxed about saying it. Like it wasn't him kind of going out on a limb and feeling like he was throwing red meat to the fans. He's just like, yeah, I think we have a good team. He said, the other thing that he kind of mentioned he tucked in there was that some coaches on the staff maybe took some flack last year, and he's like, we have better players, and so a lot of that flack's maybe going to go away. So I think he feels good about the portal haul that they brought in. We're hearing about a number of those guys already establishing themselves as leaders and integrating into the team well. But then I think too, some of the areas that they've been building guys up for a couple of years are starting to pay off a little bit. The offensive line would be the one that comes to mind for me too, where he mentions that later in his chat as well, about how of all the bright spots this spring, the offensive line is one of those spots. Kind of alluded to this idea that people that have come into practices this spring that have been through the program in years past have noticed that these guys are stronger and heavier in a good way, and so it feels like a guy who has his house in order after 2 years, right? You move in and it's a little bit of a fixer upper, and some of the stuff's going to take some time to clean out and get the way that you want it and invest in, and it just kind of feels like that's where Nebraska football is in his mind. And of course, you're going to have to go out and prove it in the fall and show those gains. But it does feel like this is a Matt Rule who's, by his standards, quietly confident in what this team can be.
Your reaction and interpretation when he says positionless defense?
I think it's a really interesting discussion. Like what I'm curious about is, and maybe he did answer this on Saturday, but is the positionless defense thing something that you want to hang your hat on in a program long term, or is this something that you kind of lean on until you become more established and kind of rise up? Because I talked about this with Sam McEwen the other day, was this idea that some of the best teams in college football, it seems like, and some of Nebraska's best teams, had very defined roles for their best defenders. You kind of knew what this guy or that guy was going to do to excel. And Nebraska the last few years has been a little bit more of a blend. You've had the Jack, that hybrid defensive line linebacker spot. You've had the Rover, and other teams have these spots too. But it does seem like Nebraska's been in situations where you have these athletes who are very talented, who you just don't necessarily know where they're going to end up. And the benefit of that, one of the benefits, is that you can be multiple, show multiple looks. The opposing offense doesn't know if you have a guy who can drop into coverage or rush the passer, what he's going to do. So there are benefits to it. I'll just be curious if this is more of a long-term vision that Nebraska has, or if this is sort of making the most of the talent on the roster that they have. But I do think with the group that is there right now, it makes sense to lean into sort of that versatility that a guy like Deshaun McCullough, like if he's hanging off the edge there, like you don't know what you're expecting if you're a quarterback. Is he going to come at you? Is he going to drop back and cover the tight end?
Yeah.
I do think it can be a benefit for Nebraska, certainly in the short term. That's probably the way to go. But again, to me, it's the longer term vision for it that's maybe the most curious.
You brought up a great point here, because let's go, because there's the discussion about we're just going to put the 4 best pass rushers on the field.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they have depth, but they don't have stars. And so I'm going to go to the defensive backfield. So they're cross-training some guys that would be safeties. They're saying, hey, we'd like you to play rover because we're looking to get the 5 to 6 best players on the field regardless of position. So could it be they like their talent, but they just don't have any, oh my God, that's an NFL talent, but they have enough talent to win football games?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Matt Rule, like, he has a track record of being a tinkerer. Like they've moved guys around in the spring on offense and defense all the time, and he's done it at Nebraska. I mean, Tommy Hill went from receiver back to DB, and Jason Machachok switched sides of the line, and like it's not uncommon for them to do stuff like that. But yes, I mean, like what he said, I thought what he said about getting the 4 best pass rushers on the field was notable in the sense that like it showed a willingness to adjust the scheme to the personnel, and you don't always necessarily see that. Oftentimes, it's, hey, we're going to be in this formation or this look, and we're going to get the guys that can fill those spots. He was showing a willingness to say, yeah, we're going to adjust, whether that's 3-3-5. He said they worked on dime packages, nickel packages, 4-man fronts. Like you're going to find a way to get the impact guys on there. And yeah, I think the discussion in the secondary is just as compelling because it's such a deep position. And we've mentioned it before, but like there's a world that's not all that unusual where Deshaun Singleton's out of eligibility, and a couple other guys maybe go pro or move on from the program, and that next wave of guys is in there. Well, now you have an older group back with Marquise Buford, Malcolm Hartzog, and Sear Wright. And so I think it does allow you to be a little bit more, specific, I guess, in how you put those guys onto the field. The fact that they're looking at Deshaun Singleton in different roles other than safety, where he's been pretty good the last couple of years, I think tells you all you need to know, that they have a depth of talent in their mind to try to figure out how to get them all on the field. So yeah, I think maybe you will probably end up seeing somebody at Rover who wasn't in that discussion a year ago when it was Isaac Gifford and Ramir Stewart, right? Like I think it's probably going to be somebody who makes that move and cross trains over, and maybe that ends up being one of the strengths of what this Nebraska defense ends up being in the fall.
I think that one guy on the staff who maybe doesn't get a lot of run in terms of being talked about, but has an incredibly important role is Corey Campbell. And when you look at what Nebraska's pro prospects did at the combine, Isaiah Nair and Ty Robinson tested really, really well. And then you kind of look at, we hear, the O-line has gotten a lot bigger, and Elijah Judy has gotten a lot bigger. And even, a couple of years ago when we were in the North Concourse and the defensive line came out, you could tell that they looked leaner, they looked different, that, it was a different program they were using. We see all these measurables in front of our eyes, and we hear about the numbers, but we haven't really seen it fully on the field. I don't feel like last year you could say that Nebraska looked like they were physically just stronger than every other team they played, or they looked, just faster than all those other teams. In regards to Corey Campbell, is how do you think we balance how we talk about the effectiveness of his job, because the numbers are there, but we haven't seen the full product on the field yet?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to get to a point where you bring in a high school recruit and they're there for 5 years, and by the time they leave, like, it's evident what they've been through and how that's gone. So in that sense, we really haven't. He's been there 3 years, and so you can't really judge it fully on that. Strength training is such an interesting one because, I mean, you do see some sort of tangible results in the the pro testing, the combine numbers that you mentioned, and Nebraska tests pretty well there. I think a lot of it comes down to injury prevention. Like that's one place you start. Like you have your best guys, and are your best guys able to stay on the field? And I think Nebraska did fairly well in that regard. Like injuries are gonna happen. It's football, and things crop up. But I don't think you've had nearly the number. At least off the top of my head, it really didn't seem like they had the soft tissue troubles that maybe they had 5 years ago when guys would go down. It felt like you get late into a game, Nebraska tended to not be the team that was gassed. There weren't a lot of maybe mental mistakes that came out of exhaustion from what I saw. So I think some of that plays into it. And then, the other stuff sort of accumulates over time. You mentioned like Elijah Judy. Throw me in the camp as the guy who I thought he looked really rebuilt when he spoke last week. Like that was striking to me to see how he was transformed. And I think a lot of the bottom line judgment comes from the lines, like you mentioned. Like, can you bring in these 4-star talents on the offensive line, and in 3 years, can they come out and be forces? Like, we're starting to get to that point with guys like Grant Bricks and Preston Tamua and some of these other guys who were touted prospects, who've now been behind the scenes for a couple years. Are they able to kind of break out? The defensive line is going to see that this year with Keona Davis and Riley Van Poppel and the like. These are recruited by Nebraska out of high school guys who have been built up behind the scenes. And so I think this upcoming year 3 is going to be probably more where you're able to going to be more informed by the results of Corey Campbell and company. And Matt Rule obviously is very, very happy with him. Strength is a position where these guys work with players a lot more throughout the off season than the assistant coaches do. So there's no doubt it's one of the more important positions on the staff. And I think this will be, again, a year where that becomes even more evident, that impact.
Do you think they'll have a full-blown big live scrimmage before spring is over?
Yeah, Matt Rule was kind of on the fence about that on Saturday. I think he kind of liked the hybrid model where you got a lot of teaching in, and then you had some live work toward the end, and I guess it's got to be like 75% live tackle for it to be considered a scrimmage. So they haven't had one yet. The spring event day is going to be one, so you still have the opportunity to have 2 here in the next couple of weeks. My hunches would be that they'd at least get one in, because there are just certain things that you can't evaluate unless you're in a live setting with tackling and blocking and just the things that go into football. So my hunch would be that they'll get one in at some point, whether it's a second, which is sort of the tradition that you've always had in the spring, I think maybe remains to be seen. But the other interesting piece they have to evaluate is, like, this has been a spring, and Matt Rule enforced it again on Saturday. Like, this is a spring about execution, whereas a year ago it was about, hey, these are some young guys. We need to kind of run up the juice a little bit, the competitive juices, and get these guys going. That's why they had the spring league. This is more, it seems like more of kind of a pro mindset of let's tighten this stuff up here and let's emphasize third down work. And so, there are certainly some young guys that still need reps. So I think maybe they end up splitting the difference and you have one, and then you still have some of these more hybrid workouts along the way as well.
Nebraska baseball picked up 2 out of 3 wins against Rutgers over the weekend. It's been incredibly up and down over the last basically 10 days for the squad, beating Oregon State, losing in the midweek, then winning a Big Ten series. Are there any... How do you evaluate all of that? I mean, just in general, how do you evaluate just the last basically 8 days of Nebraska baseball, from very high highs to pretty low lows?
Yeah, you need your Dramamine, right? Like, there's a lot of motion sickness if you're not careful. Like, and it's funny because, like, people, you talk about like not evaluating a baseball season the way you would a football season, where every game has so much stock. And you mentioned this stretch, like, it'd drive you nuts if you tried, if every game was like an indictment or a final statement, because there's just, it's been so wide ranging like you mentioned. And, I think the offense has figured some things out in the last couple of weeks. You heard from a couple players on Friday that said they felt like the end of that California trip and coming back, maybe they figured some things out. I think the numbers would back that up. The pitching still is trying to smooth it out a little bit. The rotation's not giving you a ton of length still. The bullpen's been outside of your top 2 or 3 guys, very erratic. I think the return of Tucker Timmerman here in the near future is going to be a big deal for this team. I mean, he immediately will become a top 3 bullpen arm for them, which is really important. And as up and down as they've been, the opportunity is still there. You got a ranked Kansas squad Tuesday night in Lawrence, and then you go to Iowa, which is sitting second place in the Big Ten, and you still have plenty of time to make a move if it's in you. So I think that there's still opportunity there for Nebraska. Some of its limitations are what it are. They kind of is what it is for them at this point. But there's no more double midweeks, which is a big deal for a team with bullpen issues at this point. And I think they are getting to the point now where maybe the roster depth isn't what they hoped it would be, but I think you're starting to see players they're proving that they belong in the circle of trust, and Nebraska's going to be leaning on those guys here more for the stretch run.
Yeah, big week. That's a big ball game tomorrow night. That's a really good KU team down in Lawrence. Evan, as always, we appreciate it. Have a great week. I know you're balancing both football and baseball, so we appreciate it as always.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Evan.
That is Evan Bland. Something about Matt Rule, because you were there on Saturday. They said, we'll touch on, we come back in the next hour. We will carry the Kirsten Bernthal Booth press conference coming up at 9:30. But as we go to break, what'd you think? Was that a foul, yay or nay, on Cooper Flagg at the end of the Houston game?
No.
Okay, you don't want to put the ref in that position?
No, but I don't think it was.
Jason Whitlock has chimed in with a tweet.
Just what we need.
Oh, Lord.
Here's the intended consequence of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
There we go.
Typical bad call by a ref. I see it. Chalk it up to bad officiating. Because of DEI and a constant race focus, I see it and wonder about the black ref who made the bogus call on the white kid. That's at Whitlock Jason.
Never change, Jason.
You know what? I had looked at that play, and that's something I had never thought about until right now, and will not think about.
Ever.
Last hour's upcoming after this. Jimmy, you've got a local interest playing for your Kansas Jayhawks. Jaden Dawson.
Yeah.
He was at Central, went to Loyola of Chicago, had a great year, averaging nearly 20 points a game. Going to be at KU. So there you go.
Buying a new team.
Telling you.
It's the way of the world.
When the shoe dealers stopped sending people to KU,
Yeah.
something happened.
Got to start paying more.
Yeah. Kirsten Bernthal Booth press conference coming up at the bottom of the hour. We will carry it, maybe fill in the blanks on why we will not have John Cook and Kirsten Bernthal Booth on the sidelines this upcoming volleyball season. But a shocker yesterday. It's weird.
Just weird timing.
Yep. I said that all morning long.
People were celebrating the crown at the time that tweet went out, so everybody hit pause.
Oh, it was timeline was filled with
we're done.
Crown reaction and what the hell, Creighton?
We were
What is
popping
going
champagne bottles.
72nd and Dodge. That marquee still looks the same today, except now you can't read it. But it looked great in those days.
Drove by there the other day. Guy was having a one-man protest.
Wow.
Not sure what he was protesting, but he was protesting something.
He was doing something.
It just doesn't matter.
Can't beat passion. Can't beat it.
I think he was trying to beat something else.
Yep.
Yeah. Big 12 wins tonight. Big 12 superior to Big East.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. That'd be the third title in 5 years.
Yeah.
Wagon.
I'd say, the Big East, I don't want to disrespect Big East, but yes, the Big 12 would be bigger, would surpass.
What do you call it? Toy Poodle League?
Well, you could look at, the Big East has a place, but it has been UConn the last 2 years. And the teams that have made the tournament have been smaller and small, while the Big 12 has become the premier conference for the most part in college basketball up until this year when the SEC snuck in there. And you know what? If the SEC wins, we go, hey, it's crowning achievement. Sorry, Kent. Or the Big 12. But that would be 3 titles in 5 years for the Big 12.
Would you?
That'd be Baylor, KU, and now Houston.
Would you consider this would it be slightly disappointing if an SEC team didn't win the NCAA championship this year? I mean, with all the hype and all the conversations that we've had about them, 14 teams, 3 more teams than any other conference had gotten in one singular season. But I feel like it's a little bit like when the Warriors went 73-9 and they didn't win a title. Where you're like, man, like that's a hell of an accomplishment, but you got to bring it home. I feel like for the SEC and bragging rights and conference bragging rights, you almost have to have an SEC team win a title for you to claim them to be this new big basketball conference.
I could vibe with that. I also think, though, there is something. Florida was the best team in the best conference, and they made it to the last game.
Yeah.
I mean, so there is part of that. But yes, if they don't win a title, but guy, you look at Houston and go, man, Houston's really, really good. I think it's going to be a great game. Here's what I've liked about the Final Four, and I went chalk. So we got the Final Four we deserve. We got the best teams playing at the end. But also, one thing I noticed this year with Duke and Auburn going home is teams were not just happy to be at the Final Four. Like their teams wanted to win the national championship. Like there have been times where there'll be one team that's just kind of happy to be there.
Yeah.
If they lose, it's not. Well, I mean, Auburn and Duke are both they're sucking wind today, and I think that's kind of with this Final Four has made it phenomenal. Is that you have 4 teams that it was national championship or bust. Like Duke and Auburn, this is going to be a letdown that they're not playing tonight for a chance to cut down the nets.
Well,
national championship or bust with the 4 teams, and we haven't had many Final Fours that you could clearly say that's the vibe you get from their programs.
I think in the past with, these Cinderellas being in the Final Fours, right? They have that adrenaline in, the first weekend, the round of 64, big upset. Oh my God, now we're going to the Sweet 16. That adrenaline kind of carries in to the Sweet 16. And then you win another game in the Elite 8. You're like, holy crap, like we're here, like we've done it. And then when you get to the Final Four, I feel like some of those teams, they look across the aisle and they're like, oh, wow, like this is exhausting. Like we have to beat 2 more behemoths in order to win a national championship. Like you get to the point where it's like, man, I know the odds were stacked against us in the past, but now it's real. Like we are playing the top teams in the country. You did not have that in this Final Four. You looked at 4 teams who who all looked across the aisle and said, they're good. They're pretty damn good, but we're better. You know?
I'm online here, and much of the dismay, if you've ever been to Gainesville, Florida, I highly recommend it. Very interesting town, very much a college town. They love their Gators. On their website, they used to have a live camera of a very popular place called the Swamp Restaurant. It caught on fire, burned down. The OG. It is now back. I saw a picture yesterday. There are students that were camping outside of that restaurant to make sure that they got inside to watch the game today.
What is like the longest you would camp out in front of a place
5 minutes
for a certain, like to get a certain thing or be a part of a certain activity? Like I feel like if it was like getting into a bar for like a national championship game, or if it's like, hey, there's this big sale to buy this item that I really, really want. I feel like my max, I would do 4 hours. I'd wait 4 hours. I don't think I would do more than 4.
I was told that when Empire Strikes Back came out, we waited for about 5 hours to get tickets.
See,
at a theater in downtown Des Moines.
Damn. I think that's worth it.
So I waited outside of a Best Buy in Fort Myers at Gulf Coast Town Center for about 4 hours on Black Friday.
Okay.
So kids were camping out. Now, here's one thing that KU's got to be better, Jimmy, because I've enjoyed this. So there have been times when KU has played in the national championship game.
I've lost count.
That me and some buddies have driven to Lawrence to be in Lawrence when KU is playing.
That's awesome.
Fun time.
Is it like super active? Like every?
Yes. They do things.
Like, is it like? Are you shoulder to shoulder basically at every bar?
Google image 2008 or 22 Mass Street.
So that's the main drag, which you've got all like the bars and stuff.
Where you go meet people.
It was fun. I mean,
I had fun.
It was pretty cool to partake in that.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't done it in a while.
Made all kinds of new friends.
But in so when I was living down in FLA, we went to Gainesville in the second Florida national championship. Because I wanted to be in Gainesville to see what it was like.
I'm looking at it right now, and that is crazy.
Yes.
It's like a big old strip too. Like that is a long street of just a bunch of places to go to. That's incredible.
Go to and do things.
Yeah,
you can put it that way. You can say it that way. What things they do, we won't entail or detail here on the show. That's crazy.
What?
I would
Drinking
love
and
to
eating.
be. That's one thing. I would love to be somewhere when, like, in a main area or a main city, win a national championship. I've never been in any like.
Wait, it wasn't
big
like
place.
this yesterday?
No. Here's the thing, Jimmy. I'm a loser. All right.
Whoa.
My teams lose, so I've never really been in an area or had an opportunity to truly party when my team wins, because you have to root for a team that wins.
Your team won last night.
No, what team? What team we're talking? Which one?
You
Cubs
got a
lost.
basketball championship last night.
Oh,
money.
We're not. No
Gus
one's
was telling me every shot was for the money.
No one was going out to O Street to celebrate a crown victory. All right, Iggy's wasn't popping last night.
Too bad,
because the Nebraska
day.
Cornhuskers won the crown. That does not count. That is not similar. I would love to be out in the city though. I feel like that's one of those where were you incredible like party type nights.
I wonder if CBS will have cameras at the Swamp Restaurant.
Oh, have to. They probably have cameras at both in Houston and there.
I don't know if it's still open in Gainesville, but we used to go to the Purple Porpoise.
Nice name.
Oh, yeah,
that's right up there with the Bourgeois Pig.
Hey,
my favorite shots though, like TV shots, are when they have a camera in like the watch party area and a team loses a heartbreaking defeat, and they immediately cut to the watch party, and it's just a bunch of people with their heads in their hands, and they are just absolutely distraught. I love that. I love watching the misery.
Video from Durham inside of Cameron Indoor where they had a watch party.
They're all sad.
I saw the cut. They cut it to it on the main broadcast. It was awesome. And then they had the blue light. Everybody was in blue and white. And then they had the blue light shining up upon them. And all those spoiled basketball fans were just heartbroken. It was beautiful.
Quick update, local high school football recruiting, Greg Smith of Rivals. So Isaac Jensen from Millard South will not be taking a visit to Lincoln in June. He'll go to Florida State instead. So Chase Lofton, who was also an in-state tight end, is at Florida State, so Isaac Jensen will not be visiting Nebraska. So Matt Rule, he'll be sad. But Matt Rule moves on. I think Matt Rule, the heavy lifting for 2025 is over for Matt Rule because he is transitioning into this CEO role, which he will handle much better than the previous head coach who was told he was going to be a CEO. It's a decision that Rule has made. Now, he will still coach, but he is more of a CEO, which leads to a little bit more of a calmer demeanor. I know it's spring, so Nebraska's not going to be 0-1 except for the white team because the red is a 4.5-point favorite over the white team for the spring games coming up at the end of this month. But I think his heavy lifting for 2025 is over. Now, he'll still have to coach. He'll have to make decisions. But as he makes kind of a transition into being a CEO, hiring a head coach of the defense, head coach of special teams and defense, bringing in a huge asset to him, Phil Snow. Matt Rule likes to teach, right? He is like a teacher. He would be a guy that would just be a vagabond and go across the country teaching football clinics. He would drive an RV and he would just stop in outposts and he would coach football. He would teach football. He would teach football to the locals. And then you know what? One thing I've gotten from him in 3 years now is he likes to teach football, but he likes to teach coaches who then teach players.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't like the one-on-one with players, because he'll always have that and he still will do that. But I think he gets great joy out of teaching his coaches and then watching his coaches teach the players. And I think that's kind of what he's done this spring. But his teaching of what he wants is also added why I say his heavy lifting is over, because he reworked his roster.
Yeah.
He has a fit with the culture of players that are here. And then I think, and maybe he has said this, I think he thinks he has hit the ball out of the ballpark with his current staff, that this is the best staff by far in his 3 years here. So his lifting is over, and now he can just sit back and see where this goes.
He made a lot of interesting comments that alluded to a lot of what you're talking about, right? The first one that sticks out was he goes, I get bored at practice now. He said straight up, he goes, I get bored. Right? We have so many great coaches teaching so many things. Like, what am I going to do? Bump in and try and teach this guy or tell this guy to do something differently? He's so good at his job that I know that we're going to be okay. And then he made another comment where he said, we've put in a lot of work in the last 2 years. And he kind of said it a little exasperated, as if, not that the work is done, but they're kind of finished laying the groundwork, right? Like you mentioned, they've built the culture, they've hired the coaches, they've brought in the talent. He doesn't, it's there, like it's there. And then he's also said, kind of exasperated as well, we're a good team. Like, we're just a good team. Like, we are a good team because we've built this and we've put in this work and we know where we're at. And then in a response to a question I asked him, he was just like, yeah, I find myself doing a lot of this like recruiting stuff now, and like doing like less X's and O's and like more off the field.
He's working a lot more with Pat Stewart.
Yeah. And actually building the team and kind of managing the program when it goes through this kind of, changing time in college football. And so I think it's very interesting to see the different coach and the evolution of what Matt Rule has been from when he started here at this program to where he is now, because he has, what do we call him before he got here? A program builder. He has built something. Whether or not that something will lead to wins, we're
still building. Still building.
There's still, but the parts are there, right?
Yeah, still building. Not a finished product. Still building.
Oh, for sure. Honestly, until I don't think anything is really a finished product until
now. If you've been to a practice, not a media practice, but if you get a chance, you always know that Rule is around because usually they have him mic'd up, and so you hear him. He is everywhere. I just think he's in a good spot. I don't know that him saying we're going to be a good team. We'll see at Arrowhead in 140 days or whatever it is. But when I asked that question to Evan, his conviction when he said it was different from when he said it in Indianapolis. So I think he likes his collection of talent. And I'm curious to see how it all falls together. And, of course, they got to win football games, and they got to figure out what their defensive line looks like, their offensive line. But to me, his 2025, he's done the heavy lifting. Now he's going to sit back and see where this goes. And unlike Scott, who as a CEO, when you would see him in practice and he didn't know what to do, Scott would stand like by the quarterbacks because that's usually where he did. But then it was awkward to see him go down and like, stand by the defensive lineman working in the pit or anything like that.
Or like go to other coaches.
Like
and
Rule strikes me as a guy that is very comfortable bouncing around the field because there's a lot of guys that they just spend all the time with offense. They stand with the quarterbacks and that's all they watch. So I thought it was curious what he tried to lead the media down of kind of explaining how their spring is going. I don't know if that increases the spring interest because the spring interest for football actually is kind of low compared to previous seasons.
Sure.
When maybe it should be higher because I think there's more optimism inside of the program. But that's why we have the Husker games.
Because everybody's waiting on the edge of your seat to see alumni, Husker alumni play each other in flag football and have a garage sale and everything like that and watch one-on-one. So we're so excited.
All right, Kirsten Bernthal Booth will carry the presser from the Hilltop coming up in about 12 minutes. On Marcus Blossom, the athletic director of Creighton, will speak, and then the coach of 22 years. Going to be odd not to see her running the Creighton volleyball program. No John Cook, no Kirsten Bernthal Booth. When
That's
Creighton
crazy.
and Nebraska play, will they be sitting next to each other? Or why not put them on the broadcast?
Whoa, I like that. I like that idea. Or maybe both mic them up during the game, and then cut in and out. Or just have put them together and then have like a rivalry.
Have them do an alt cast like Sue Bird did yesterday. I'd watch that.
How'd that go? Because they had Caitlin Clark on there, right?
I think so.
Caitlin Clark was on there. She made like a comment of like reality has hit me.
I was watching Lakers Thunder.
Hey, nice win for the Lakers, man.
Hey, Oklahoma City might be fraudulent against good teams. Against the top 6 teams in the West, I think they're 9-12.
Ooh, darn. You hate to see it.
Quick break. Come back. Again, that's coming up bottom of the hour from Creighton on 1620 The Zone. Appreciate the email, Ernie, into the Equitable Bank inbox. No Jacob Bigelow today. We're going to take a week off from Jacob.
Pour one out.
Who came back on Twitter.
Yeah, that was I mean, he's been claiming for multiple months now that he was going to take a long break from Twitter, and he just can't quit it. It's like me and Instagram. Remember I told you that I deleted Instagram? I re-downloaded it, and now I'm back to wasting way too much time on it. I mean, I can't tell you something right now. I have a sickness with social media. My generation has been poisoned by social media to the point where it's like I don't think I could go a full day without having opened a social media app.
And you don't have TikTok yet?
I don't have TikTok. I'm not going to get TikTok. If I have TikTok,
Heard
it's
that.
game over. I will be useless. I will be not
We
like.
caught a break. Caught a break over the weekend. 75 more days of TikTok.
Yeah, I heard about that. So I read that quickly.
Big
But
deal in my house.
How much are they selling TikTok for? Could I get
You're
in
going to
there?
buy it? Yeah.
Could I get in there?
You want to invest in it? Let me look.
Buy your own app? Okay.
TikTok.
I'll go in with you.
price.
I got $20.
TikTok's value is estimated to be around $100 billion.
Okay.
Okay. It was good for a moment.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Donate
I
to
like where
NIL
your head
instead.
was at. Your head was there. It was in the right space. Unless, I mean, short a couple billion.
I mean, what would you rather do? Buy the Minnesota Twins or TikTok?
Take the Twins.
I'll
It
take
worked for
TikTok.
Billy Haywood.
I will take TikTok.
Yesterday, there was history made on the island as Washington and the Islanders played, but that really didn't matter because Ovi got 895. Not surprised, actually, that because he has longevity.
Yeah.
And if there was no lockout or COVID, he would probably be at 1,000 goals plus. There's a couple of Wayne Gretzky records, like assists and points. He'll never, ever, no one will come close to that. And you got to remember later in Gretzky's career, like when he was with the Rangers and the Blues, he wasn't necessarily a goal scorer. He was more happy to help somebody. So he just racked up assist after assist. But that doesn't take anything away from 895 is great. So I was thinking about this as the great 8 is past the great 1. The greatest athletes to wear number 8. So your choices here, and I'll pose this. This might carry over to the crossover because we want to hit the press conference downtown here shortly. Kobe Bryant, Lamar Jackson, Alexander Ovechkin, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Okay.
Think of those. We'll discuss on the other side. We will go to the Hilltop. Kirsten Bernthal Booth, stepping down after 22 years, the head volleyball coach. She will speak. We will carry it on the home of the Jays, right? 1620 the Jays.
Yes.
Shocker.
Weird.
We're looking forward to hearing the coach talk. And they will make Brian Rosen's a really good coach. But this just it caught some people off guard. We'll see if there's some clarification coming up here in just moments on 1620 The Zone. Whoa. Now you're pulling at the heartstrings. By the way, programming note.
Oh.
The bowling Final Four will include Nebraska and the
Let's
defending
go.
national champions and number one seed, the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State. They'll be in Vegas later this weekend. So you have three teams that are from the Conference USA, and then you have Nebraska as an independent.
Wow. Conference
Nebraska?
USA, bowling conference.
Yeah, the
Nebraska and
Skir
Vegas
Rollers.
again.
Wow.
Mhm.
Good for them, the SEC of bowling.
So Nebraska takes on Youngstown State. Jacksonville State, the defending champ, they take on Wichita State. Aiden brought something up in our discussion earlier about Flag being mentioned as the best in the one-and-done era.
Yeah.
And so I think it's Anthony Davis. I mean, he won the championship. And then Cooper Flag, Kevin Durant, Zion.
Yeah. I think that's...
And, Kevin Durant's lone year on the 40 acres was unbelievable. I think we need to go back. If you remember, let's go back for a moment. 2007.
I remember.
At the Devaney Center. So Texas won this game, 62-61. Kevin Durant that night at the Bob.
Yeah.
He went for 26 and 15. Yeah.
He was a killer, man. He still is a killer.
All right. Let's go to Creighton as Marcus Blossom, the athletic director, is speaking. Kirsten Bernthal Booth, Brian Rosen. That is the press conference to hand off the baton. Kirsten Bernthal Booth, after 22 years as the highly successful volleyball coach at Creighton, now to Brian Rosen. He'll take over immediately. As you also heard, the athletic director, Marcus Blossom, and the news that the win of this, because this is, I still, somebody that is in her prime leaves Creighton. It is a huge win today for Love B.
Mm-hmm.
So the volleyball organization, we have two professional volleyball teams in this town. The Supernovas, who are, running a coup to get into another league next year. Then you have Love B, which has better players, but the Supernovas are better organized, that league, or I'm just going to say the Supernovas. Love B has kind of been in the shadows. So a group of investors in Love B made a run at Kirsten Bernthal Booth about a month ago.
Oh.
And that is a huge win for them, that she would leave one of the best jobs in college volleyball to run that league. That league needs some help. It's just in its first year, and it's fighting a battle. But to get her to leave Creighton to run that league is an unbelievable win for them. Still have questions of, in her prime, why now? And there's a lot of things. Sometimes you don't like the people you're working for, okay? Whether they run the university, run the athletic department, and sometimes you run into a wall. But she always struck me as a lifer. She turned down Kansas to come back to Creighton. She will be excellent in her new role, and that is a huge win for that league and professional volleyball in this country, because maybe we get everything under one umbrella. More professional volleyball, that players don't have to go overseas, and the best can stay in this country is great. We've already seen the impact of the Supernovas at the Chi. Love B, again, a little bit smaller scale.
Sure.
But God, that's a huge win for that league. To get her to leave a really, really good job in the prime of her coaching career.
Wow. It's a huge win for volleyball, in my opinion. And I think we're all in agreement, if the sport is going to grow, kind of the model, right, of every sport we watch is you see these players play in college. You maybe find an affinity for them in college. If you like them while they're playing at college, you root for them, you watch them play, you watch them grow, you watch them develop, you latch onto them, and then they go to the pros. And then you get to see them blossom against higher competition. And that pipeline from developing characters in college to then them going to the pros, that's how you make an audience. That's how you make a fan base. And so volleyball needs, and has needed, is in desperate need of a league that has that, where a lot of people like NCAA volleyball. A lot of people fall in love with players when they are, whether they are rooting for a team or not rooting for a team. Like college volleyball over the last couple of years has done a great job of, making athletes that you can root for. There needs to be the next level. There needs to be the next step. You need to be able to follow those great players and be able to watch those great players at the next level. And just volleyball in general needs a league like that can exist, and that, like Coach Booth said, that little girls can watch and say, I want to be a pro volleyball player one day. So I think it's massive for Love B to get such an accomplished coach and someone with such knowledge on volleyball to help lead them and build them into that premier league, because it's great for them, but it's great for the sport.
Yeah, you woke up on January 1, you said, you know what? I got to imagine that John Cook will spend more time with his horses than his volleyball players, and that Kirsten Bernthal Booth will not be wearing a Creighton quarter zip. They would have said, you're effing crazy. But it's a loss for, a volleyball state that has two people that are incredible ambassadors for the sport and their respective universities, and highly successful, that they will not be on the sidelines. So one goes to Danny Busboom Kelly, the other goes to Brian Rosen, and we move on. But that's a huge victory for Love B. And I'll be curious now what that does for the league. That I think they're in Atlanta this weekend to wrap up their whole season, like they're now into the postseason. But there you go. I'm sure there'll be more reaction and maybe some other stuff. We have to hit the break for our crossover. So if anything that Brian Rosen says, I'm sure that Connor will speak on it. All right, I asked the question before we joined Coach Booth. The best 8: Kobe, Ovechkin, Lamar Jackson, or because I want to include my NASCAR friends
Yes.
and the most popular NASCAR driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
No Aikman, no Andre Dawson,
Okay, you can include them.
no Archie Manning.
I think it's Ovechkin. I respect Lamar, but Lamar hasn't accomplished enough from a team winning perspective, hasn't won a Super Bowl, so I wouldn't put him there yet. Dale Earnhardt Jr., an incredible NASCAR driver, but like still not the greatest ever, not at the very top of what he does. Still incredible Hall of Famer. Kobe Bryant was great as an 8, but he accomplished a lot as a 24.
Ooh.
Yeah, I
And
mean, he's the only guy. He's one of the rare guys that has 2 numbers retired.
He's
You're
got
right.
2 Hall of Fame careers with 2 different numbers, right? So
2 eras?
maybe Kobe Bryant, all encompassing. Maybe you could put him over Ovechkin, but if we're only just talking Kobe Bryant as an 8,
Great point.
I'll take Ovi.
Yeah, I'm with you on Ovechkin.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing
He
that
passed the great one.
Ovechkin at the age of 39 has 42 goals in 61 games.
It's crazy.
He's 39 years old.
Crazy.
I mean, he's drank a lot.
Oh
Okay?
yeah,
He's had kids.
He drives
So-
fast.
Ovi's got a dad bod.
The one thing about him, and he's a sniper, man, and probably
He's a hunter.
it makes it even more impressive in this era of the way hockey is played. Now, I think Ovi and Sid saved the NHL.
Yeah.
I mean, they came along at the right time, but the longevity of Ovechkin and Crosby is something that also needs to be put on their, when they fast forward to Toronto and they're in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But his staying power, I mean, he doesn't look like he's running out of gas.
No.
39 years old,
that's-
42 goals in 39 games, or
That-
at the age of 39 in the NHL.
That was a snipe.
Yeah.
That was a load back off the back skate. It was a beautiful shot. And you talk about Ovi and Sid and their longevity. They're playing for a very long time at a high level, and the 2 hardest positions, I would say, in hockey, being a goal scorer where your job is just to finish, that's tough. To have your job just, hey, you are the goal scorer, that's a lot of pressure. And then Sidney Crosby playing as a 2-way offensive defensive center, that's incredible difficult as well. For those 2 guys to play those positions for that long and be at that high of a level, do it at the same time, I mean, it's an absolutely incredible accomplishment.
All right, enjoy the basketball tonight. Florida and Houston for the national championship. If it's close at the end, who wins?
Houston.
Okay. Got to be cognizant of that if you are a Gator.
I think it's incredible, but against the Cougars, like you kind of have to have like an 8-point lead with a minute to go to be safe.
And if Houston wins tonight, do not be afraid to engage on chatter of this incredible Houston run as one of the best teams, because their run of who they've beaten to win the national title, if it happens tonight,
Yeah.
there are very few that would be in that category. So we'll talk about that tomorrow when we're back in at 6. Crossover is coming up next on 1620 The Zone.